Hello, welcome back to the stream. It's a pretty cool week. A lot of things going on. Diablo 4, where instead of having to purchase a double down chicken burger, I just got it with my phone plan.
And I got it with my internet plan because it's totally fine and it's nice to reap the benefits of all of telecoms becoming one monopolistic market. That's great because I get to play Diablo without giving them £60.
That's it, yeah.
I win. No long-term damage whatsoever. It's fine. It's great. Wonderful. Also, happy St. Patrick's Day, everyone.
Yes, we have our Guinness Zero.
Yeah, no, this is going to go horribly, so I'm just going to open it because I haven't opened mine yet, but yes.
I've made a terrible mistake, though.
Yep, what's that?
Given how sleepy I am, the original plan, I was going to go to Russell's and just, get a 10 glass of Bucky.
Honestly, I feel like...
That's maybe the only thing that could power me through this stream.
So, I think maybe the only thing that... yeah, if we were to have a Buckfast powered stream, it would have to be our last. And yes. I don't mean last as in last stream before we end the streaming. I mean our last thing that we do, because we would invariably go wrong.
Oh,
that would be dire.
So
but you would enjoy it, that's for sure.
That's it, yeah.
At least.
Buckfast. Finest tonic wine brewed by the monks. Which means that as far as drinks go, it is ordained by God.
Absolutely.
That's why it's so powerful.
Yeah, that's why when you drink it, you become closer to him. In fact, take on some aspects of the Lord himself, such as becoming invincible and thinking you're the greatest of all time. Hey, Jesus Christ.
Yep, there's a lot of very confused Americans who I don't believe have Buckfast.
No, they definitely don't.
The Buckfast Abbey, funny enough.
Yeah, it's
is in England?
Yeah. So I think the best way I could describe Buckfast is how to describe it. Imagine Four Loko pretended to be wine. That's more or less the best way I could explain it to Americans. It's brutal. It's fantastic, but it's brutal. And yes, no, we would be allowed alcohol on YouTube as long as we don't get too sloshed. I hope so, because you've drank on stream before. But honestly, we're just being good boys with our Zero.
That's it, yeah.
Absolutely.
Very health conscious move. The Guinness Zero, by the way, is completely mad. It has no right to be as good as it is.
I've never actually had it until this sip.
Really? There we go.
Yeah, it tastes like Guinness.
Yeah.
Except a bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not as good as a good pint in the bar, but better than the pint I had in the bar in London, that's for sure. Fucking English. Anyway.
No. So it's a fairly interesting week. We know more about many things.
Yeah, such as Addons being destroyed.
That's it. Yeah.
That's a bit hyperbolic, by the way. We'll get into the depths of it pretty soon, but it is good news on the raid design and how WeakCores impacts it and Addons impact it. It's really good news. So we'll talk about that.
I almost want to just dive into it right now.
I mean, go for it.
Fuck it. I'll
Plug
do
in
it
your laptop.
live. Let's roll. Oh, yeah. Whoops.
The part we forget every single week.
the show.
Yeah.
Let's insert the show into the computer.
Indeed.
That's how it works. Right. This is actually, this is good shit. So, here's the deal, everyone. There we go. Here's the deal. We've got new private auras in 10.1 that can restrict what add-ons can do. Which means that if Blizzard wants you to not be able to, and in fairness, maybe there'll be some magical workaround, who knows, but the idea anyway is that you won't be able to just cheese a bunch of raid mechanics with a weak aura, which I actually think is pretty damn good. So here's what happened. Weak Auras tweeted saying, "Big WoW UI." Let me start that from the top. You can maybe tell. I sent Matt a picture of my the Withings Healthmate app with all of my sleep scores. They're all red and yellow for this week.
Yeah, it looks. Oh, it would be unfair to say it looks a bit like your parses because you actually do play pretty well. But
Goddamn right.
Yeah, it's
fucking 97% DPS every time. Hell yeah. Disc Priest is the best, most fun spec in the game. But okay, right. Time to do the news properly. So, new private auras. Private auras are a new thing that is being added in that will give Blizzard, supposedly anyway, a bunch more control over what add-ons can and cannot see. Right, so Weak Auras tweeted saying that in Tan 1, private auras are being introduced that will make it easier for Blizzard to hide specific auras from add-ons, which could be used to restrict add-ons from automating fight mechanics that encounter designers think would be problematic. Now, one of the things that's been a bit more controversial and debated is that the World First guilds, they have add-on developers on their teams.
They sure do.
To just build custom solutions for fights. Which, when you think about it, it's pretty damn mad that we're even going to kind of going to those lengths. But that is what happens. We can all think of many different fights. I mean, the Dreadlords. Mm-hmm. I remember, Dreadlords everywhere. We just got the add-on in Sepulchre of the first ones. So this is something that Ian talked to Asmongold about a good while ago, actually. This problem, right, where they're in this friggin' arms race, where if add-ons can completely trivialize a mechanic, and they know that most players, or at least enough players to count, will use a weak aura, then they're in a really weird position. Because what happens if that weak aura becomes the norm? And then you have a situation where you just got to say to your raiders, no, get the weak aura. And it's basically not optional, because if you're not playing within the plan of the weak aura, then you fall outside of the plan, and now you're screwed.
Mm-hmm. It must be an absolutely frustrating thing for them overall, just because, you think from a perspective of just, you're going to play for, do the good thing, do it properly, etc., etc. But there's so many people who actually don't want to play with weak auras. People who don't want to out of principle, out of because they don't like them, out of because they don't like playing add-ons and stuff like that. So I think it is a case of, you just don't. You can't assume add-ons when you're designing a game, because that is literally bad design of making a video game, making a product. It's just bad. It's the same way, as an example, they can't design a UI based around I'd say people using mouse buttons. They can't say, we've got all this. Oh, what if someone doesn't use a mouse button? There you go. That's a pretty regular example of keybind accessibility. And then the same for controllers, where you can't design a game where the control scheme assumes you have an Xbox Elite Series controller with paddles on the back. You have to design what the average person will do and what you ship. Because if it's not in your game, then you can't rely on it. So obviously it's what's the point of making stuff that add-ons are for?
Yeah, for egregious examples, we've got the assignments for Mistress Assigns Hydro Shot, Radar for Archimonde's Rot Chaos, assignments for Ashara's Queen's Decree Dance, and the Jailer Bomb assignments, where it's just weak aura handles it. So basically we see unit auras add private aura anchor, which basically just part of the API that lets them just do these special auras. Are World First Raiders scared? Oh no! What will Scripe say?
I love Scripe. He never misses anytime he's anything to say.
Never misses.
He's really good. He's great. Also never misses getting World First. Go Echo.
Go Echo.
I like them. I like this post. But no, I think
it's funny how one Liquid First post that was poorly worded just opened the floodgates to everyone clowning on them, but it's got nothing to do with their raiders.
Yeah, I think it is also. There's just a little bit of spirited banter.
Yes.
And whenever people don't respond to spirited banter very well, sometimes people can push it a little bit further. But I think,
I think the thing that Liquid will come up against is being a big megacorp.
Yeah.
Compared to Echo, which do not feel like a big megacorp.
Mm-hmm.
Which, ultimately, it's an interesting thing with kind of and I guess I saw this in StarCraft, but the business stuff encroaching on a grassroots scene. It's all fairly interesting.
No, it is.
Anyway, TLDR, esports is a massive grift. It's a scam. It's all fake. Don't worry about it.
And if you want more on that, there'll be more on that coming up next week on the news channel.
Oh, really?
I believe, yes. We're going to go into that esports betting stuff. So
that's fun.
Yeah, because that's very interesting. Basically, it's all going to shit finally, but it probably won't because it's propped up anyway. Frankenberry, he said, how are we going to win if our weak auras don't play the game for us? That's what Scribe's tweet said.
Yes.
And it's very, very untrue, largely. Because I think, was it also Frankenberry pointed out, did we even really need a weak aura specifically in Vault, though? Terrorist is the only fight where it helped, maybe Council for the Marks. There are definitely cases where it solves a very core problem that the game doesn't bother to solve just yet. But it's not even because actually that's a little bit more DBM does most of that work. It's kind of weak auras and DBM get a little bit conflated sometimes because people install both and don't know what does what. But generally,
surprisingly, yes.
Yeah. Generally speaking, I think they intentionally designed around that, and it's been to great success as far as I'm concerned. But I think this was just going to be overall healthy for redesign.
Oh yeah,
it's way healthy for redesign. Gives them way more stuff to do, and I think for the actual explanation of what this literally means physically for you if you're using add-ons is effectively. You will be able to, or add-ons will be able to create their own frame just for these auras, these specific buffs and debuffs, and they'll be basically the add-on just sees a black box, which is there's stuff in this we're not allowed to see it, but we can show it to you. As far as I understand, at least, and that's a case of say it's a debuff, and it won't be able to know how long you have it, so you won't be able to have a special bar on your screen that counts down the timer. It'll be you'll see whatever. Maybe probably just the basic form.
Well, it would essentially
and it won't be able to count down and go 3, 2, 1, go. It'll be
it can't do any logic because it
Yeah.
can't see anything. It can't see any of those variables.
Yeah, it won't be able to get the duration, won't be able to get stacks, it won't be able to get anything like that. So if they wanted to, they could hide. You know the way whenever you get how do I describe this? I'm trying to use an example that works. Razageth, whenever you get the bombs, and DBM marks you with a mark, and it goes, oh well, there's 3 people, so give one this, give one this, give one this. It won't be able to do that if they decide to put that in the private box. Then it'll go, we can show you have it, but we can't tell you. We can't use that information to then move like flashing text, move to star now.
Yeah.
It won't be able to do that. It'll just be, here's the icon, which is they likely won't do it for that, but for something that simple, but likely do it for any Queen's Decree mechanics like a shower where they're we want this to be super hidden. We'll choose that.
I think as well there's times where they will feel more comfortable to do a simple mechanic. There are some mechanics that perhaps could be super fun, super enjoyable, but this could instantly kill.
Yeah.
Completely negate. Well, if they can hide that, then they can do that mechanic. So they probably feel quite freed up as designers. So overall, I think this is really good.
It sure is.
Yeah.
I think there's one example I want to highlight specifically because I watched Preach's video, not anything about this, but it was about the add-on drama in FF, and he was talking about add-ons history in World of Warcraft and stuff. And the one example that I think was amazing was when an add-on, when it was I think it was a weak aura at the time, I can't remember. I think it was a weak aura, or it was some add-on anyway, won the World First Race against Archimonde for Paragon.
Yes.
Or no, against Paragon, sorry. Yeah, I think it was Paragon lost because he didn't do this, but Method at the time did.
Shut down.
I can't remember. But at any rate, the point was there was this very interesting mechanic that felt a little bit like an FF14 kind of raid boss mechanic, maybe inspired by stuff at the time, but it was the Wrought Chaos where everyone would fire lines at each other, and you had to make sure none of the lines ever overlapped or you kill people. And then there was I think it was Method went, okay, we can get the radar function, the DBM/DBM range that used to exist, and they would draw lines over it between each player, and then if the lines overlapped, they'd be colored red, so whoever was there knew to move until the line was green or blue. But Paragon did it a different way, which is a little bit closer to the an FF kind of style of, okay, we need a kind of elaborate setup, easy to do, but you kind of have to plan it and then have it, where they had an add-on assign everyone a number, and then they're based on your number, you stand in a place.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, it's go time. Get in your position, do your dance steps. So they did that, and it looked really cool to do, and it seems to be the intended way, except for the add-ons having to assign numbers, which is a bit awkward. But it's like the lineup worked perfectly. And like, oh, that's really cool. And then they lost because the people who just used a UI to do it for them. And I think that's a perfect example of they'll be able to make this way, way, way more interesting. They'll do stuff like that again, stuff like Queen's Decree and Ashara, which is really fun mechanics to deal with. But they won't be worried of people going, yeah, well, wait, that's hard. We don't want to do that. Yeah. Hello, developer, could you put this logic down on a bit of paper and try to work out a way to programmatically represent it and solve it that way? So now they have the capacity to go, no, you have to do the fun mechanic yourself. You're like, sweet.
And the thing is, fantastic. Like, if in this case, like, we highlight the Scribe tweet because it's funny, but the thing there is, well, if you think you have the best players and you are leading an esports org or something, you think you've got the best players, then whenever, you know, any helpers, etc., like those weak auras, whenever they get killed, then that's to your advantage.
Yep. Absolutely.
Because if you are better, then you will overcome whatever the adversity is.
Yep. And I think everyone's aware, like everyone in the rating scene's aware that Echo went and did some of the FF14 Ultimates and went, these are great. These are really fun. We love having to play this way.
Did they do them blind?
Yeah, of course they did.
Oh.
Of course they did them blind.
Wow.
They're really, really slow. It took them ages to do DSR. It took them forever. And I think I don't know if they've ever finished
really must
top.
have had to fight the temptation to go and like look up a guide video on YouTube.
They must have, yeah.
Yeah, wouldn't that be embarrassing?
Yeah, but I guess that's because they're not particularly egotistically attached to the win. They're playing for the fun of it, and they're also very good. And they're kind of like, oh, whatever, we'll see. We think we're pretty good, but obviously they're nothing compared to the like better FF14 groups. And they're like, sweet, whatever. We're just,
you know, it would be funny if some of those top FF14 people tried WoW stuff.
I know I don't think there's ever been like a super concerted attempt to, especially because the numbers don't line up very much. Especially when the FF14 rating, when statics have some
you need
severe
to combine.
Drama.
It would need to be this like grand alliance of 2.5 groups, and then they would have to contend with WoW gearing.
Yeah, that's probably one of the more
it's way easier to move from WoW over to FF.
Yeah, but I know there's like a couple. Arthur's in particular, I really enjoy watching Arthur's during Ultimate Prog because he's funny as hell, and he has been like basically tweeting recently about how he's like kind of almost addicted to WoW in a way. Because Dragonflight's like gearing is so like friendly and alts are so nice and like the actual mechanics and raiding and stuff are fun. And he's got like, it's like 3 alts that he raids on now or something. Because he's like trying out different stuff and it's like, that's actually really very nice. Yeah, I think Sphere did play well. I think like a lot of people kind of blended over MMOs. There's that many, it's hard to keep track. It's hard to keep track. And Visiden says, yep. Yeah, I know what you mean, Visiden. Also, I saw you in Faunus chat the other day. Just a side thing. I don't recognize the name. But yeah. What are you looking at?
Oh, chat.
Oh, chat. Oh, yeah, you're looking at chat. There. Yeah. Sorry, I was really confused. I thought you were looking at something like over there about. I was like, why are you? I don't know. Why are you? Yeah.
So, right, there you go. Addons. Blizzard are actually doing something. It's really good.
Fantastic. There might be a video out this week exploring it a little bit more in depth, just because I have a lot of thoughts on it. I'll put this on paper. But sweet.
So, next thing then, we should cover the news bit. Which, don't worry, not that long. Here's a nice thing. Blizzard just being able to say, here's a patch coming out, and also here's the one in the PTR.
So good.
That's mad. We didn't even have this in Legion.
Yeah, like I was amazed when I saw this. I was like, oh yeah, that's what video games do. Real live service video games have infographics that show all the stuff that's coming in multiple patches, except this one's like actually kind of more in depth and better.
New activity.
Mad.
Sniff and seeking.
Yeah.
I don't know why I said that. It's just a peculiar word.
I think you tried to set up some form of like.
Yes.
Yeah, you set me up for something, but there was nothing that I thought of that I could say reasonably, which is very unfortunate. Very unfortunate.
So overall then, hey, it's nice. We've got patch out very, very, very soon, which actually does have more content than we thought.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, I don't know how long the campaign's going to be. I have to assume it's not particularly
like an
long.
hour or two, like I imagine.
But hey, yeah, it's some new stuff. The vaults are cool. It's kind of neat seeing Blizzard actually try new stuff. Per Ian, that's all parallelization. So they just have enough people they can work on all the patches at once. Like, obviously, previously, they had lots of parallelization. It's just they have so many more people now that they can work parallel on, I suppose, more things than previously.
Yeah, I have this whole, like, this whole theory about how they've just taken all the red tape that used to exist and, like, ceremonially threw it into a shredder and then dumped the ashes and set it on fire. Or dump the shreds, set it on fire, and then dump the ashes into the ocean or something, because it is like, it's crazy how much stuff is happening, and the fact that it's not all been lumped into one patch makes me feel like they've decided internally to go, do you want to do something, developers? They're like, yeah, we have loads of ideas, and like production team are just like, go do them, put them in the game. And I was like, oh sweet, and that's why you have like just lists and lists of stuff for a change, as opposed to like a 3 bullet point patch during Shadowlands. Mad.
This is one of those things. I don't know where the info came from. As in, I don't know if this came from. I don't think it came from any sort of source. I think they talked about it publicly. Maybe they did. Hopefully they did. But remember they talked, or somebody talked anyway, about one of the things changing with 9.1.5, with that being like exactly basically what you said, taking some red tape down, allowing some of the more junior people in teams to actually take the lead and do shit.
That's been
and it's kind of interesting.
Success.
We've seen new names emerge. And I suppose we've seen some of those older names go and work at other companies. But yeah, whatever they've shaken up, it certainly does actually seem to be working, which is nice. It was really, I mean, it was a pretty grim 4 years, wasn't it?
It was
like, when I think back, about that?
Yeah, when I think back to it, I'm like, oh, though this game's lucky anyone's still here. Like, it seriously is. It might be like one of the worst like live service things that isn't one of the super clowned upon ones.
Yeah, it's not an anthem.
But they managed to somehow, maybe it's through the strength of the IP, maybe it's through the strength of people's like habits, that they managed to just about stick through. But that's why I'm not surprised Dragonflight had like so few returning players. Because why would you come back without being Stockholm syndromed in some capacity, or like love the game so much that you're like, you know what, I will give you a second chance. Because that's like, they burned bridges about how bad that was for player habits, for everything. But it wasn't intentional. Like, I think that's a lot of it. It was just like, oh, you were misguided for a long time, but now you've seen the light and are coming back to us. Like, okay.
I think there is some of that. A lot of, or at least a fair few of the individuals in my head are actually no longer on the WoW team, so it's probably okay-ish to say. I know of a lot of very looking down on the player-based perspectives that were floating around parts of that team.
Yeah, that's very clearly gone.
I do know that some of those people are no longer there. Not to just pin the whole thing on a small number of people. It is obviously a larger, more systemic problem with how the WoW team obviously was being ran. Maybe they needed more leadership resources, right? It does seem that they had. I don't want to say a reshuffle, because that... You know, that brings up like, oh, the prime minister has reshuffled his or her cabinet, whatever. Who's gone? No, not like that. I mean, it's just there's more people on the WoW leadership team now. That must be nice. Yeah. Because if you are trying to lead the game and there's not enough people with you, it's going to be an absolute horrible, horrible job. So yeah, I don't know. Perhaps some attitudes have changed.
I mean,
processes have changed.
They clearly have. They clearly have at every step.
Yeah,
there's
it's
no
actually paid off here.
There's no way that team and that approach makes this. There's no feasible way, none whatsoever. It fully feels like, and I know I used this analogy earlier today in the video, but it feels very much like, hey, Gordon Ramsay's come in and kick the kitchen apart. And they've had like that talk outside, that like real heart to heart is like, why are you doing this? And it's like, I don't know. Why am I doing this? I hate this. Is all my passion for cooking is gone. And then somehow this applies to the whole team. They're like,
is there breast milk in the
yeah, this breast milk is rancid. No, and they're like, okay. Let's clear out the fridge. Let's put some almond milk in there or something instead. Even though that's not the point of the fridge. Anyway.
That is okay. Number one, sorry to torpedo your analogy.
Yeah.
Number two, can you believe that was a story?
Yes, but I've been around long enough. I can believe a lot of things
Okay,
that I
fair.
shouldn't be able to believe.
Sometimes you just kind of like, you wake up and you survey what's happening. Like, what the fuck? How did any of this happen?
I think
I
think that's really what happened. A lot of us is we're like, what the? You know what? Let's all collectively forget all of that. Not literally, of course. More in the approach and like forgiveness kind of angle, and the more it's healthier to remember but let go in that kind of sense. It's like, yeah, that was insane, and everyone's like, yeah, game's good now, and that attitude made a bad game. So the good game is a what's the term I'm looking for? I guess it's a marker, like a bit of evidence of change internally, where it's like clearly, no, I shouldn't bring it up. That's a bad idea. That's a rabbit hole. Basically, things are very interconnected systemically. So when something's bad because of bad behaviors, then something becomes good. It implies heavily that the good behaviors are fixed. I think that's very much it. But that's what my analogy was about. It was Gordon Ramsay come in, but we, the collective player base, were Gordon Ramsay. And we were like, why, developers, are you making this game that tastes so bad? And they're like, that's a good point. We should make a game that tastes good. And then they did. We're like, sweet. Thanks. World of Warcraft is delicious now. I guess to wrap my analogy up. I've lost my marbles. Anyway, yes.
Yeah, the point is, big good. Just big good feels nice. There was just a lot of doom and gloom floating around that really did make it just it made a lot of things like suck, I suppose. So it's nice that we can like broadly feel sort of happy and secure.
Yep.
To continue on with the news, we do have a new Twitch drop coming. Oh yes.
Yes, I love watching Twitch.
It is the Disco Ball toy. You can get the Disco, which has a very cute, acronym thing. Watch 4 hours of Twitch between March 21st and April 2nd. You will get a thing. There you go.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Just say, okay, no, I won't. No, yeah, you can watch Twitch if you like. It's fine. As
much as a bit of me eye rolls at what I would call inorganic engagement, at the end of the day, I can't blame Blizzard too much. Everyone's doing it. You may as well get in on it. Right, the next thing then, Razagath nerf.
Nerfed into
nerf.
Round again.
So I'm glad we got curved before the second nerf.
Yeah, I'm still a wee bit tilted. Not really. It's just.
I think she was probably above their tuning target initially.
Oh, I mean, yeah. I think by.
But it would have been nice. You're right, of course.
Yeah, by all metrics, I think Razagath is way harder than they had any intention of ever. I think that much is kind of certain, but I know they're fully aware. I'm sure the people don't like when nerfs happen. I think that's why this wave of nerfs was. Hang on, it was this reset, wasn't it? Or was it for? Was it for 10.07 or was it this week? Oh yeah, it's next reset, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think they're like they're lining it up with 10.07 to go. Okay, new patch now makes sense for it to be. Hey, you haven't beaten her before the patch, so she's a little easier now, especially with the Onyx Angular coming in, and if people can get that up, so I guess a little bit of an item boost for you as well. I think that's kind of the stages of. Sure, if you get ahead of the curve, it's like, oh well, my ahead of the curve is more important than your ahead of the curve because my ahead of the curve is like a week earlier, and that's like kind of hard to track. But I think you get into the mire there, and I think it's more about personal happiness and stuff like that. And kind of, you got curve. It was slightly easier curve, but if anyone says that to raise a point, you can tell them to go fuck themselves because they're clearly like not right in the head if they actually care a lot. But I mean, obviously, like I say that, but I also say I was kind of tilted that we didn't get her before. But that's a me thing, and not like I would never bully someone.
So you're not right in the head, and you should be bullied. Is that what you said?
No.
No. Shit.
No, that's not what I said at all. I said people who would bully me for that aren't right in the head. That's what I mean.
Yes.
It's okay for me to be upset at myself, not for other people to be upset at me. If you follow, because that kind of thing, it's still the same category if you still did it. And people who are like, oh, didn't get it first week. Go away.
Yeah.
This is not serious.
So, what has happened is many of the main damaging abilities have been nerfed by 20% on Heroic and Mythic, which basically will mean you'll need to use less defensives. You'll have more resources, right? Healer mana is less pressured. Storm Surge's Absorb Shield nerfed by 20% on Mythic. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fairly, that is big.
A lot of it is targeted at, like, underperforming DPS. Will now be able to do the fight. DPS checks aren't as heavy, as opposed to, like, they didn't really... I guess that's the one thing they've not been doing. They've not been mechanically making it easier.
Should say that, so those damage reductions and the Absorb Shield, that's 20% down on Heroic as well. Yeah. So... I mean, like if our team went in there with roughly the same performance and the same gear, like we'd absolutely cream her.
Oh yeah, she'd be deleted. Like
with that 20%, that makes a hell of a lot of difference as you're like moving into the final phase. So interesting stuff. Evidently, Blizzard want to get numbers where it should be. What I will be very interested to see though is as people are getting their flight stones and their crests in the next patch, and they can advance their gear up to, like a little bit before the next tier of difficulty. I have to wonder what that will, what that'll do to completion rates. Because in a way you could say, it'll do nothing. But Blizzard could, heavily like tune the curve of the player gear progression and then the boss difficulty. Where, like, the obvious thing you don't want to have happen again is a Sepulchre of the first ones. You want gear acquisition over time to do that, like, nerf.
Yeah, that's
to the fight, rather than you having to go in and, just fucking rip Anduin and Zovell to pieces.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think they clearly must have, like, missed a lot of their targets and misunderstood how gearing was going to impact as well. But that's the thing Ian talked about in our interview with him, where he was like, we went into this patch not really knowing, or this expansion rather, not really knowing what classes were capable of on the wide scale. Obviously, they had internal testing. Obviously, they have simulated numbers. But that doesn't apply for... Johnny Average and the amount of times Johnny Average spends alt tabbed during a fight or something along those lines, or the amount of time just misses procs and stuff like that, or how insane like certain builds can be under the right circumstances with the right stats that people aren't aware of. And that's like they have to crowdsource that a lot of the time, which is just basically down to complexity, I think. Maybe if they had a bunch more staff, but it's like it's like someone said in chat earlier, there are people who have been playing World of Warcraft for longer than most of these developers have been developing it. And you go, well, yeah, the real experts are actually the players in a lot of these cases. Because as the why it's rude to suck at Warcraft video says, it's like, or opens with a quote from, it's like, the players of World of Warcraft took it from being, the developers made a database, turned it into a virtual world, and the players went, let's just Uno reverse that. This is a database now and we understand it massively. So I think that's the, hopefully it's fine. Hopefully it's better, basically, and having the loot system. Now, it is a little bit weird that they're fine-tuning the loot system, like at this point. That's not super final. So hopefully they get decent numbers on that right away. But having the people will get X upgrades a week should be like, well, there you go. There you go. We can get average item levels week on week, assuming player behavior. And that's very, very good. Very good.
Yeah, it's funny. There's a lot of those things which, they kind of just happen by default, and as players, we don't really notice them. Yeah. But undoubtedly, there is a fair amount of work that has to go on at Blizzard to actually ensure that those numbers are in the right ballpark. It's like all those things that take designer time that, as a player, you just take for granted and never really think about.
Yeah, see, that's the part of it. This is a slight bit of a derail, but that's a lot of why I personally rail against RPG mechanics in games that don't need them. Mm-hmm. It's because people go, oh yeah, it's just another mechanic, it's just another thing. And it's like, no, but you just increased variance at every level of gameplay by so much. That's why whenever I play, the example I always do is whenever I play Horizon Zero Dawn, I'm like, oh, look at this. This difficulty feels really good. Oh, I've leveled up. Oh, it feels too easy now. Oh, I guess there was a sweet spot of perfect me strength versus perfect enemy strength. And I have, because it's an open world, because it's RPG, because of gear, there's a lot of deviation between those. Oh, okay, sure. I fall out of that myself. Whereas in a game like critically acclaimed video game released earlier this year, Hi-Fi Rush, which has the only RPG elements are basically you get skills as you get currency, and that's just unlocking new combos and stuff. You can go, oh yeah, here you go. Here is the design curve, the fixed curve. Here's difficulty. Here's how good you are. Here's how strong the enemies are. You'll get slightly better. The enemies will get tougher to match. Look at that. It's happy the whole way through. and obviously RPG mechanics throw a load of variance into that, which is the part that people don't really think about. And then you go to World of Warcraft, you see it happen every time, or like nearly every patch for the last long time is this hasn't felt right. This hasn't felt right. Oh, it takes nerfs. Oh, it takes loads of nerfs at the end of a patch or at the end of whatever many weeks. Or oh, tier wasn't as impactful as we liked. Stuff like that. I was like, that's the hard part. And once you get that done well, then your game's better. But it's the bit that people don't really think about too much until they get slapped by it.
Yeah,
And I think that's what's interesting. So it is.
Yeah, no, certainly challenging. We do have a little bit of good news in the team, and that is that Dakor and his fellow raiders at Seriously did actually manage to get Cutting Edge before the nerfs.
Please clap. Please clap for Dakor. Very good.
Well
Very
done.
well done.
There we go.
Well done. Hall of Fame, except you won't get Hall of Fame next time because they're merging. Haha.
You. Yeah, and for rating like 7.5 hours a week, it's pretty damn good. That said, I think they do all play a lot more than 7.5 hours a week.
So, how do I put this? So, we were in what I have to say is the least masculine contest I've ever been a part of. We were comparing our played time in Dragonflight recently, just because we were trying to get like, okay, well, how much does an insane Mythic Raider play? How much does someone who's an outdoor content player who's literally trying to get the insane title, and how does me, who's very much sane comparatively to those two, who's literally just a play like hell for a couple of weeks and then raid log more or less because I've seen everything, done everything, novelty based, sure, whatever. Yeah. Maybe some all time. And my main is in like 8 days since Dragonflight. And I'm like, oh, that's so much time. That's so much. And then Tom, the player who is very much outdoor content, doesn't do instant stuff much, just, collects and things like that. Like 14 days since Dragonflight. And I'm like, that's so much. Yeah. And I can't remember what Dakor's was, but it was, I think it might have been almost double Tom's again. I'm just like,
I'm surprised it's
that's
not
so
50.
much time. Yeah, it's like, oh, that's
actually
a lot
wait,
of time.
50 would be impressive. I remember one of my old guilds, there was a guy and his slash played was 1/3 of the amount of time since between he started playing the game and when he gave us that number.
Yeah.
As in, 1/3 of his time was in WoW.
That's what I was...
And I don't think that was just all AFK.
No.
No, this guy was on. Wow.
Yeah, that's why I laughed at Tom's first, because it was 15% of time since Dragonflight had launched. And I was like, that's a lot. And then Dakor's was so much more. I'm like, oh my god. But yeah, I remember there's a guy in the first guild I joined, and he was a warrior with over a year of playtime in Wrath. I think he started playing vanilla. But I was still just like, what do you mean? Wait, over a year? Like, what do you mean over a year? That's a year in game.
Yeah, just the idea of I have been on this seat for 1 year straight.
Yeah,
that's mad.
Well, not straight, like, but yeah, it's because what is
there near is it 20 days?
Nice. Yeah, man, that's insane.
Oh man,
that's
definitely really low.
Yeah. Same.
I was playing a lot in like the initial time, but then with having the launch pill beyond and everything, I just had to raid log.
Yeah,
which does make me sad because there's like lots of things that I know, but I haven't done my character. It's really annoying. I need to go and do that.
See, that's the thing where it like,
fuck, I need to get. I've got like my. Remember there was like the few weeks of us doing M+, and then like you and Leon got KSM.
Yeah.
And I like ducked out for 2 nights. And fuck, I think I need to get like 300 more rating. Because basically I want to get Keystone Master and Curve every tier, and if I do that, I will be happy.
Yeah, see
currently I'm unhappy.
Yeah, I've learned that, I think this is another bit of the sidebar, but I think people have very natural different types of playing video games. And you kind of learn that, and you learn to stick within it and try not to not to say don't go outside your lane, but like you try to go, well, okay, I know what I'm naturally going to gravitate towards, and I know that I'm going to try to play that way. And I'm very much a person who loves novelty. Yeah. Whereas if you tell me to do the same thing over and over again, I will give you the middle finger. I'm like, no, I will do that until I feel like I've seen everything and understand it well enough. And I haven't quite done that with that doesn't go to the extent of do everything in a game. It's like experience enough of the game world until I feel happy. And in most games, that includes completing it. but that's why I play the ever-loving shit out of the game every time a patch launches, every time expansion drops. And then I'm like, I have sunk a lot of hours into this, and there's nothing really compelling me to come back. And I know there's other players who are like, I'm going to play this every day, and this is like part of my routine and stuff, and I'm just not one of those people. And I've like had to learn that over playing WoW, and been like, you know, why do I feel like I'm not particularly good compared to other people, or like I don't play alts very much? It's like, yeah, because my brain goes, nah, I'm done now. And I'm like, yeah, cool. And I think it's like UCP says, but FF14 is like, you want people to go away and come back. To me, I think that is, you want people of varying play types to play a certain way and be able to play the game the way they want to and be happy with it. If that means logging in and having something not novel, but something slightly novel to do, some goal to chase in the case of collectors, some like high octane gameplay in the case of like Mythic Plus, like key pushes and stuff like that. And then for me, it's like log in, do a load of cool stuff, and go, yep, that was cool stuff. I'm happy to pay for it. See you later. Because all of these need to work in the same part.
Yeah, that's why the likes of the Scar Vault and stuff's good to have. It's more novelty. Now, this is not novelty, but it will help me get Keystone Master as long as I can cajole a few people.
I can just come on.
So the good news is
Paladunk.
the timer. Oh yeah, Rat Paladin, you'll surely have a reason to check things out. Good. Well, now that Matt has a reason to play as Paladin, yes. So the Azure Vaults, 1.5 minutes has been added to its timer. Wow, would you look at that? So, yep, up to 35.5 minutes, which will absolutely make timing this dungeon easier. Azure Blade's mana now drains 60 seconds instead of 50 seconds, meaning there's now more time between each of the intermission phases. So, we got that in Azure Vaults. Then the Raging Tempest Storm has just been reduced by, I think, another 20%. I think it was nerfed 20% before. I just remember there was a week where
Something
everything
like that.
seemingly was nerfed by 20%, and everybody's like YouTube titles and shit. We're just like, 20%.
That's their two numbers. They always alternate. It's either
20 and
20% or 30%. Sometimes 40. But it's always like 20 or 30 to me. It's like, yep, 20, 30, 20, 30. And I remember like whenever they first started nerfing in 9.2 towards the end, I was like, 30, 40% nerfs? That's crazy. And then I thought about how damage scaling works. Went 30%? That's not enough. Because it's like, you need to take it down by that much because of how scaling actually destroys stuff towards the end and like high end plus and stuff like that. Kind of crazy.
Yeah, for Ruby Life Pulls, the periodic damage from the Inferno Dot, 35% down.
Yep, cool.
Big. Yeah, so as a healer, thank you kindly. Court of Stars, this is not a direct nerf to the dungeon, but the visual effect in the actual damage area of Jazz Sharu's Shockwave ability now more closely lines up. But don't worry, I'ma Cut Ya is still going to do just that. So there you go.
What a name.
Yeah, a whole bunch of nerfs. Next, then, we got to talk about the new content. So this is quite nice to see. Blizzard already has their full testing plan. Just done.
Except for all the TBAs, but yes.
Except for all the TBAs. But it's nice that we're actually having, this early communication, like, pretty rapidly after PTR.
Yeah.
Does make one think, okay, if you were to bet, before or after Diablo 4?
After.
That's my bet as well.
After. But not that far after.
Yeah.
Because
I'm thinking like 14th, 15th, 16th.
I don't know if it's in our doc.
Which one of our birthdays is it going to hit?
Oh yeah, well, not mine because mine's just after Diablo. But yeah. I know there was a Mr. GM. It was Mr. GM noticed, or don't know if he noticed, but he at least shared the information on Twitter that the 10.1 PTR currently has a updated Midsummer Fire Festival achievement.
Yes,
which means that patch is planning to launch before June 21st at least, which is the same for like. I mean, if you think about it that way, then we looked at 10.7 had updated Noble Garden stuff, and Noble Garden this year is like April. And it's like, hey, March 21st, like, that's earlier than we expected, but at least we're able to see like a latest date, like a ship by date that they have intended for it, which is
same
cool.
with the lunar stuff with 10.05. Yeah. So it actually seems like we'll constantly know when patches are coming out because of the holiday updates. Which is kind of nice.
Yeah, and I think Akaria has a point. It is a little bit late for a season start. That is a 6-month season. Or an over 6-month season. About 6 months. That's a bit long for seasons, so I hope they may be able to speed it up a tiny bit after that. Maybe they're getting like a lot of the kind of expansions, the hard parts, so a couple patches maybe. Because I don't think 6-month seasons are. Well, I don't know. It depends.
I'm okay with 5 to 6
Like,
months.
I'm okay with it, but I'm more thinking the amount of like noise I see around maybe month 3 or 4. This is getting a wee bit old. Maybe they'll have to see how player drop off works versus how much. Because obviously, I could just be seeing a load of people who nuke everything and then get bored.
Well, remember when people were worried about season 3?
Yeah.
And like, oh, hang on, this season might end before, like, people are still progging.
Yeah.
So, hard to say. But yes, anyway, for the next while then, we have a bunch of raid testing going on in Aberys, and there's also a bunch of Mythic Plus testing, including this weekend, but not with the Vortex Pinnacle.
Yep, that's not ready yet. That's
what's going on. Blizzard are testing the new patch, which is, to be expected. What a surprise. Okay. Verac or spoilers?
Go for spoilers.
Spoilers.
Go for spoilers. Time to talk about Tempo and Story Campaign.
Okay.
Which is there. And that's the thing. I really don't want to spoil very much of it.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about it too in depth, so I actually might just scroll through this and see if there's anything I think it's kind of there. Because that might just be all.
I think it does, at least you were saying from looking at it for the WoW News, like, things look pretty good.
Yeah, things look pretty good. There's a little bit of, I know some people have issues with a certain character and how they've been developed.
Continuing Rathian, because I know there's been a lot of Rathian discussion anyway.
Yeah, a little bit of that, like, this doesn't quite feel right, but I think it's something that's fixable in terms of framing with dialogue changes. So it's like, I'm not particularly sure if I want to go through spoilers very specifically, because I think everyone here would be happier to play it live and just get rough opinions. I think that would be my executive decision here. Although I would also say if you can at least scroll down to the fish segment, and we can show that one off because that's interesting.
Oh gee, what could this be, everybody?
Yeah, curious fish.
Is it the Nige fish?
It's called
it's
called the deep water Megrim or deep drifter Megrim. Yeah.
Megrim fish, or okay, I didn't know that was a type of fish.
Yeah, so it says, like Notharian, this fish went mad listening to whispers of the old cods.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? Okay, thanks, Blizz.
Yeah, I think that's fun.
So they were called Megrim in-game in patch 8.2 as well, located in the Abyssal Pools.
Yep.
I've seen some screenshots from the raid.
It's
these
gorgeous,
like voidy bits where it's almost like a giant void portal just like stuck underneath there. It looks so cool. Right, so...
Yeah, not really much to talk about there.
Does N'Zoth have... Because I'm thinking about... I don't know why I'm thinking about the Grey Fox in Oblivion and his network of... like, you know, all the beggars were like spies to the Grey Fox or whatever. Is that just N'Zoth's thing? He can just, like, see what the fish see?
Makes sense, yeah.
But what I'm trying to think of, like, to actually do that a bit more seriously... like N'Zoth, fish appeared. N'Zoth directly had a chat with Ashara.
Yeah.
So this curious fish is here. It absolutely implies that N'Zoth kind of knows what's up. Now you may be thinking, did we not kill N'Zoth?
Yes.
And
Asterisk.
why did the end of BFA happen? Why did the end of BFA have to happen? It's one of those things. Yes, we did. Asterisks. What? Maybe. So EXE stop responding. We did in a different way to how we normally killed old gods, because when we normally kill old gods like Yogg-Saron and stuff,
we just punch them to their follower.
Yeah, we just like killed their goop, we just killed their like a little manifestation of them.
The extrusion of them, yes.
The actual the actual god itself is like, deep, much bigger, much larger problem.
Yeah, I guess
whereas with N'Zoth, how does that even work with N'Zoth? So he was in Ny'alotha. Ny'alotha is in the plane of void.
Is it? Is it not just is it not like kind of like an elemental plane, like overlaid over Azeroth in a weird way? Because we accessed it through a portal, but it wasn't like a physical place.
So it'd be good to know that exactly. But yeah, his whole plan is to manifest Basically, he wants to cross-dissolve his version of reality on top of our version and just go and squish us.
I suppose that actually did get a bit more flavor whenever we went to Nyalotha in the time travel segment of the 10.0 campaign. And then it was a physical place with the elementals there, and that was explained to be that's the actual Black Empire. So effectively, Nyalotha could very well have been a dream. Not literally, but a manifestation of dreams kind of being over there.
It was called Visions of Nazoth.
Yeah, it was the
patch.
But that was about the Stormwind and Orgrimmar visions.
Hang on.
But yeah, because there's also like the thing that like the Wrathion thing, where we go in there and we fight Wrathion because he gets corrupted. But no, actually, like that's a dream. So it's a little bit of like they could say it wasn't real. They could say that, and yeah, like the Hunter's dream. And I think if they turn around and said it was actually all a dream, you didn't kill him, I think they would be thrown into the abyss. Yes.
Now, where is the citation for this?
What is it?
Nyalotha is similar to the Emerald Dream, both being alternate planes that are born from the dreams of powerful entities. Of Nyalotha, it's the old gods, and the Emerald Dream, it's Azeroth. Well, that's not true.
Yeah, that's not true at all.
Yeah, that's not true. Because
that's what I hate about WoWpedia. Sometimes there's just
this could be old, and it was the understanding at the time.
Yeah.
But actually, per Chronicle, that's not like Chronicle leaves it open to a few different things. Mm-hmm. Anyway, when I saw that, I basically thought, like, hang on a second, does that mean that it is a constructed part of? Because you can have a thing where like Nazoth can kind of like manifest in the plane of void his vision of a place that was real at one time, and then using the black obelisks as he tries to anchor it to the material plane, which is where we live, which I guess just
I love fantasy science.
Oh yeah, goddamn fantasy science can be some fun.
Yeah. What is manifestation? What is manifesting? What is anchoring? What's any of this? You just kind of understand.
Whenever we went there and laser beamed Nazoth,
he was dead like because Nyalotha crumbled.
Yeah, but where was Nyalotha?
It was in...
Was it in the anchored manifested plane of...
It was real, and definitely, yeah. So it's that weird thing where it is...
But we also know via Steve that Nazoth's essence goes back to Void Plane whenever Nazoth gets yanked.
Yeah, he dies. He dies for real true. For real true in the normal sense. As opposed to dying in the old god sense where they don't die. But then dying in the real true sense is them going back a la demons. So
yes,
it's basically the demon situation where there's no point killing Archimonde because he didn't die forever, except for when he did during the Mythic Only phase.
Because
because he was alternate Archimonde and not real, and what is good, good decision. But I think fundamentally for what this means for Nazoth's return,
here's
they could do whatever they want.
Where's the body?
It disappeared after we shot him because disappeared after we shot him. It was in the Dream Realm.
No, where's the body? Because how could that be the real body? Nazoth was in a...
He was free. So clearly he was free.
Yeah, but is he just a big fucking squid? Did he just go float away?
Yeah.
And Nazoth just had a swim.
Yeah, he was freed and then he could do whatever, so he physically moved into Nyalotha.
Where the bloody hell did he swim?
He manifested himself, teleported, used his void magic.
Where did he swim?
He didn't swim anywhere. It's not real. It's not. It's all made up.
No, but like you see, Cthulhu. You know, there's a bit of Cthulhu that we.
Yeah, but we didn't fight him in Nyalotha. Yeah.
And then the rest of Cthulhu is like. Still deep somewhere.
Yeah. The point was that was Nazoth. The carapace of Nazoth was his outer lair, and then we got through and we fought the inside of Nazoth.
Yeah, but that was fish.
We were deep inside Nizzy. Well, we blew him up.
Yeah, basically. But now he has fish.
Yeah.
Now he's got fish people.
Except he doesn't have fish.
What?
Because it's only mildly related. Maybe the fish are... Well, I mean, right, if we're being literal, this is very much, these fish are still here. Old God influence is still here, even though Nazoth is dead.
I mean, I could break out some color theory and say that cave is the color of Saronite, but I won't. Yeah. Because I know that's just a coincidence, probably.
It's the same thing where the purple... I think I said this last week, the purple crystals in the Secrets of the Reach cinematic were the same... Or the same way that the old god crystal elementals that Deathwing used to try to destroy Thrall's earthen body in the Charge of the Aspect story, it's very much those are those. But that could just be a reference. It might not be old god blood elementals, but they could be. But who knows?
What's the game plan?
What do you mean the game plan for
Void
what?
game plan.
Fuck, I have no idea. Oh Jesus, that's a really tiring question to ask.
I'm yeah.
Yeah.
What? Okay. Status of the old gods.
Dead. No, half dead, half dead.
No,
sleeping.
Cthulhu's just a big cooldown timer. Because Cho'Gall wanted to zoop him back up again.
But
like in the way that Yasharj got totally fuck blasted whenever Amanthil fucking yanked him out of the earth and threw him into the bin.
Another down.
So that didn't happen to Cthulhu.
Very good.
But Cho'Gall failed to get Cthulhu back. But that still means Cthulhu could be back. And then with Yogg-Saron, we didn't properly deal with Yogg-Saron back in Wrath.
Yeah,
and then we get
him.
in the was it the pre-patch quest for Legion? We go back there with Magni and we things happen that maybe suggest that Yogg isn't fully gone.
No one's ever really gone. No one's ever ill. Or is it truly gone?
It's about family. So Yogg's on the cards. Yeah. The only one that we know is turbo gone is Yasharj, but so many people have been talking about could there be a plan to resurrect Yasharj?
No, because all that remains of Yasharj is literally a small pool of blood that I'm sure someone wiped out of Orgrimmar by then.
Nope.
That can't still be there in the Kor'kron huts. Surely someone came around with a mop and went, oh, gross.
But Peter Thiel tried, but then he found out it was a video game and he couldn't have that blood as well.
Yeah.
So, there's been one of the theories that's been knocking around, because one of them is Void's going to come fucking raining from the sky down to us.
That'd be cool.
Another theory could be both. Void could come up from the ground again in the form of all these old gods that could be yeah, we're back.
That's
while all the Void Ethereals come and, Anshul, whatever that ends up being. Because, of course, we find out about Anshul, which I just assumed that Anshul was a fallen Anshe, and that if there was any Zoval Anshe thing that they were planning to do, because of course they were going to have there be a Tauren storyline, which is why Bane went to the Shadowlands, and they obviously cut that to shit.
Good.
Which is good. Good. They didn't ruin that as well.
Yep.
But then that made me think okay, is the deal that Elun's brother figure is in a void cycle? And, if Elune is, Elune, and, if the other one is represented as a sun deity, then, is there some sort of light thing? You tie that into the Sunwalkers. And then if it is a light dude, then, Naru can turn into Void Naru. But then you pointed out, but Losho could be Anshul.
Yeah. I love how...
And Losho's also... Losho's the one that, actually literally is a Cosmic Wanderer.
Yeah,
because
as per the Night Elf story, yeah.
Blizzard accidentally removed the blue child... Was the moon. They removed that moon.
The small moon, yeah.
Yeah, they removed the small moon in a patch, and then significantly later they added it back in, and then made some lore.
Yeah.
And now that lore is a trinket.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Possibly. It is all very complicated, and I am kind of a little bit... It's weird. There's so many parts that I'm trying to figure out what they'll prune. I'm trying to figure out what they'll cut. I'm trying to figure out what they'll get rid of. My camera's fine. It's actually, I'm just sitting. I'm just sitting really leaned back for some strange reason. But yeah, I think there's so many things I could do with it, right? But I think I don't even think I could get into it now, but I do have a forming theory that's almost all complete nonsense.
Oh, great.
But it's also very good and very cool and better than what they'll do. But a lot of it is related to the cosmic and the void being connected in some capacity, but being notably different. In that if you've seen Sarkareth's form and you've seen all the colors in the raid, if you follow the whole color theory of everything's the same color and et cetera, it's all what is to come. It's all the cosmic stuff. Because if you want to make it void, they just make it void. But they're not making it void. They're making it cosmic. And Shadow Flame is called Shadow Flame, but I think that might be them just kind of... what's the term I'm looking for? Kind of red herring-ing it a little bit. Yeah. Because Shadow Flame doesn't look very shadowy. realistically. It actually ends up looking a little bit more Devar-y in a sense. So I think there's a lot of stuff
about
there.
the Devourers is they were supposedly a natural part of the Shadowlands.
Yeah, well, that's the thing.
And a part of the Maker's design.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. But the problem is that they're working their way through the cracks. So what if they're working their way through the cracks elsewhere? And that implies a little bit of entropy. Maybe it's just the natural entropy coming to claim what was rightfully, unlawfully ordered, in the sense of light versus void clash to create everything that is in the old lore. Maybe it's just what was it before? Was it just blue? Is it coming back to all become blue again? And I guess that's a part where until we see a little bit more clearly, we can only theorize. But it is a little bit. It's like if we keep to more grounded theories and like what characters are going to be used, what's going to come in, we can get a pretty good idea. But if we start to think about the higher concepts, it starts to get a little bit. There are too many pieces.
Yeah, and
there
you
are
don't
too many
really,
pieces to move around.
You don't know how much they will pivot into or away from things based on Shadowlands feedback because they undoubtedly heard that shit.
Yeah, almost certainly.
Yeah,
and that's the thing. That's why I think we don't have to worry about it. I think they're just setting up pieces for later on, in the same way that they know they can't just go and here's they'll go here's your villain, goodbye villain. It's like here's the threat. Here's the thing bubbling under the surface. Here's the I guess if you put it about what's it called? World of Warcraft, remember? Remember that game? And Warcraft 3, and it was all like there's repeated incursions by the Legion before they became a full-blown bam, they're here. I think they'll maybe try to work a little bit of that again, because they've been doing that with the old gods for a long time. Where it's like, and another one pokes its head up, there's another incursion, there's another attempted invasion in a little way. So I imagine they'll do that with the Devourers, with the Cosmic, with the blue stuff. They'll go, here's little bits and pieces, here's a little story going on. Here's more of an idea what to expect, a little bit more of, hey, that's coloured oddly blue, that came out of nowhere. Oh, this star fell, oh, that kind of stuff. They're like, everything's happening, we're not quite sure what's happening, but something's happening. All while you're dealing with like, the incarnates are here, but the incarnates aren't connected to the void, because then would finish that up. They're just doing normal person stuff, or as normal as being a big rock, fire, and ice dragons. You can sort of be normal. They're doing their normal things. You sort them out, and like they build it up in the background. I think that's the best way to do it, because if they went from Sarkareth's tail's blue to the cosmic Devourers are here and they're coming to destroy everything, and it's all a thinly veiled thing for entry because sci-fi, and you're like.
No. World of Warcraft has now become the fourth entry in the Cloverfield franchise.
Oh, what a way to go out. What a way to go.
That would be the way to go.
I'd love
that, man. So, Chimes. World of Warcraft developer Chimes has actually given us more information about the new system. This was a big chunker of a post.
I loved it.
Following up another big chunker of the post, of a post. And you know what? Let's just get into it, because obviously this whole new system that is completely replacing really like Valor and just so much of that stuff is going to be super impactful. People have a lot of questions, and one of them may have been, why don't you just give us Valor? Okay. One of the philosophical underpinnings of the system is they want to encourage players to challenge themselves when they want to improve their character's power. Farming low-level keys is not challenging for most people who routinely, are like, doing the teens. Basically, the idea is we don't want you just smashing out a bunch of +2s for quick Valor.
Yep.
Which, in the way there was a bit silly.
I think that's the weird thing, because a lot of people will immediately have the response, but I like doing that. It's like,
it was a good game though.
Yeah, it's just not fun. I mean, you might have enjoyed it, you might have had fun, but it's like there is a point in time of they want you to do the hard thing to get your rewards. You shouldn't be able to do the easy thing all day long to get the rewards. And there might be a hard point of literal disagreement there, and it's just no, they think the game should be this way, and I think you might be personally affected, but I think most people would largely agree in the grand scale of things. And this is weird, because usually I'm literally the exact opposite version of this, where I'm like, Blizzard think this is good, but they're not thinking about players enough. But that's more about the specifics as opposed to the overall approach. I think in this case, it's very much right. Yeah,
you have to design your game.
You have to.
And,
you have to design it
in a live game. It's like people have the easy get around, then you know, it maybe tells you that something is a problem, but you still have to design your game to keep on going. Indeed. There are a lot of moving pieces to the system because it's been engineered to handle all sorts of situations in an effort to more closely align with doing the optimal thing, with doing the fun thing, while still keeping the base player experience simple. Which, because the base player experience is just, you get items, you upgrade items, that's it. A lot of players will be able to engage with this system and never really need to think about it. It's one of the things where, like, if you just see the whole system at once, it may be overwhelming, but when you actually just experience it through play, I think it should be fairly okay. And while some of the complication is there specifically to minimize the losses for making mistakes, they don't want people to be punished for making, the wrong upgrade. Kill stuff, get flight stones. Kill hard stuff, get crests too. Take flight stones and crests to item upgrade vendor. Item vendor tells you how much it will cost to upgrade gear, as long as you can afford it. There you go. There's actually quite a lot more, though. So,
yeah, of course.
Does this system and its hard caps mean that I have the same item again from every upgrade track? I need to farm my BIS trinket at Veteran, and then again at Champion, then again at Hero. While that's certainly an option, it's not required. No. Getting an item on the Veteran upgrade track means it can be upgraded to Veteran 8 out of 8, which is the same item level as Champion 4 out of 8, which is only 4 item levels lower than Hero 1 out of 5. If you upgrade the gear to Veteran 8 out of 8, you will be more than ready to do the content that drops the heroic track gear. That said, this is a known concern and we're looking at options. I can't promise specific results because there are a lot of moving parts, but it's under active investigation. We won't be making any changes to address this concern in the very early weeks of the patch, but if it turns out that the data bear out this concern, we will step in. Thanks to player feedback, we have developed a contingency plan. That's nice to hear.
That was something I found very interesting. Yep.
This feels more real than the ripcord. Remember we all talked about the ripcord?
Sadly, yeah. I remember that. But yeah, I think it's interesting to me that they have a contingency plan. That's what I think is really cool. They're going, yep, we have had so much time to think about this, so much time to plan this out, that we actually have a plan B. As opposed to, we barely got this together in time, please don't let it suck. They're like, yeah, here's the plan. And if you kind of want this,
you can just do make an item that upgrades it to the next level.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So instead of Veteran, it just moves it up to Champion.
Yeah,
could probably do that. I imagine. Is this Chime says don't delete your trinkets from +2 keys? If you like, we're being careful here with the rollout of this new system. It might mean that those items will still be useful later, and it might not. This is not a promise at all, but if I were still a player on the other side of blue posts like this, reading those words a blue poster just typed, I would keep mine around just in case.
Yep.
That is what we call honesty.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting because I know, like Frankenberg just said, so if I get gear from a +2, it's essentially worthless. That's an interesting question because it depends on what you mean by worthless and what constitutes worth. Worth as in it's the thing that you will always use and you want to keep it forever, then yeah, that's not what it's going to be. Theoretically, it might change. But I think there's a little bit of people don't quite understand that the design is for it to be a process, for you to replace stuff. And I think that's where Valor really, really fucked up. Because with Valor, you could upgrade something and lose that Valor permanently if you got another item. So the whole thing was designed for you to think, oh yeah, okay. Yeah, you have to get your best and then upgrade it. Don't upgrade anything before that. Which is not fun in any capacity because then you just become hunting for BIS. I think this is a little bit of them, especially with the crestless catch-up for gear, where you can just, if you get something, then you can bring it up to match your highest item level, like for very few stones. I think that's a case of, that makes it a lot handier for loot. But Akari is right, it does highlight the drop rate problem in M+, where I think there might just be, the chase for an item might just be a little bit too much. And that's where a question of determinism coming in would make more sense. That's where like, okay, well, there are 3 super high value items in the game. You can get them after enough work. And you can bring them with you forever. I think people are going to be like happy enough with that, all things considered. So yeah, Frankenberry, it'll never be BIS unless they change that in the current plan, but that's kind of part of how the gear system's supposed to largely work. You're supposed to get something and then replace it with something better. And you can carry stuff on very forward, very far. So it's not like a massive, massive problem unless you're an insanely like high-end player, I think. But I think Cobra's another point saying nobody's going to lower keys once they've passed that gear threshold now. Valor at least made it so lower geared players would get help throughout the season. I think that's an interesting problem, because you say help lower geared players, and that's true, but the flip side of that coin is carrying. What's the difference between a help and a carry? And there's also a lot of people being blocked from progression later on, because as soon as Valor's uncapped and you go, oh, I'm going to open a +2, well, I'm not going to wait for a low gear player because I want to do this fast, and people with high gear have incentive to come. So I'm going to wait for someone who should by all rights be doing +20s, but they're doing +2 to farm Valor. I'm going to wait for those, which means there's players who don't actually get to be like playing. Players don't get to play the game as intended after the first couple of weeks, which means if you're not in the first wave, you're gone, you're lost. You're lost, and you need carries in some capacity. And I think ensuring that is like, no, players of this tier should be doing this, and players of this gear should be doing this. I think that's healthier in the long term. Could turn out to be wrong, but that's why I think this is a very, listen, motherfuckers, we designed a gearing system, please play it. And that's where like the rigidity in this, I think, is very good in the long term. Even though it might feel a little bad and has some negative aspects, I think the negative is massively outweighed by the positive, which is the direct opposite of what I think about most things I've done historically, which is why I'm so happy about it, to be honest.
Yeah, I like the tone I like the tone of the post. I like the communication. It feels real.
Yeah.
I suppose.
Yeah, it's very good.
To continue then, so further clarification on where things come from, which Chime says that basically would have been good to say this in the original blog post. I omitted it because the post was already super long and I wanted to focus on the core system. Please keep in mind that these details, just like anything else in PTR, are subject to change. And as a reminder, 15 fragments makes a full crest. Okay, what happens then? So remember, we go from Whelpling to Drake to Worm to Aspect. Basically, you don't have to worry that much. It just means the harder the shit you do, the better the crests you get. Those will upgrade your gear, like at the higher levels. It's basically, don't worry about it. Do shit, you'll get upgrades. There's the TLDR. For the specifics, okay, outdoor content has Whelpling's Shadowflame crest fragments all over. World quests, treasures, non-elite creatures, etc. Some sources have not been revealed yet. There shouldn't be any shortage of these for people who want to go collect them. This is the most likely situation where people will hit the crest acquisition cap. So that would, I assume, be getting 150 fragments within a single week and being able to make 10 crests, allowing you to do 10 gear upgrades in a single week. Mythic plus keystones up to 5 will drop crest fragments. There's a significant bonus for timing the key. You get 5 for completing, 12 if you complete it in time. So if you time a key, you get a gear upgrade, basically.
Which is... That's insane for pacing. That's crazy.
That's faster than Valor, everybody!
Yeah, that's so insane.
And then in Aberrus, Raid Finder drops crest fragments as well, where bosses mostly will drop 10 and end bosses will drop 15. You may think, whoa, that's more time efficient than M+ or whatever, but remember, that is a weekly lockout source. Okay, so what about Drake's Shadowflame crests? These are the ones that are more like, I suppose, normal mode?
They are normal, yeah.
Yeah.
They are normal. Quite literally.
Outdoor content will have a limited quantity of these. Elite creatures in the outdoor world will be the most common source, but the weekly wrapper, that's like, your Aiding the Accord quest, and some scheduled content, somewhat analogous to Dragonflight Launch's Community Feast or Siege of Dragonbane Keep, will offer a healthy amount of them. So this actually means that over time, players who are not stepping into a normal raid will be getting pretty nice gear.
They'll be fully normal geared. Which means, assuming that they also get normal gear from this, in the same sense of like a couple every now and again, that means ultimately over time, outdoor players will be able to have heroic 1 out of 5, hero 1 out of 5 tier gear, because normal gear goes all the way up to like the start of heroic. Oh no, sorry, I'm telling a lie. It goes the whole way up to 4 out of 5. hero.
yeah.
Which means with consistent playing, outdoor players will be able to have right up to 1 item level before Mythic.
Caveat,
Yep.
that probably is a long
time, yeah.
long ass time.
Yeah, a long last time, but yes.
So we will have to see
Yeah.
how that's paced.
And no D4C, you're not able to trade up X amount of smaller crests. That's not the intent whatsoever. The intent is not for you to progress like naturally through doing this. It's for you, if you want the higher item level, you go do the higher thing. But I will say that only really applies to in the long term. That only really applies to like heroic and mythic stuff, because it's like I say, normal goes all the way up to hero 4 out of 5, which means if you're fully upgraded in normal gear, you're only 3 item levels below what someone who's been playing heroic is, and then someone who's mythic doesn't have access to the upgrade system at all. So if you're doing most content, you'll be 3 item levels below everyone else who's really going for it. And that's a case of like, yeah, you don't have the best gear in the game. Yeah, you might have to do some more normal stuff for it. But
Somebody
yeah.
said, lol, why should I even raid? Remember, what Matt said there is going to take time.
Yep.
Time.
And also
It'll
because you
be
enjoy raiding, and raiding is fun.
What? What?
Raiding is fun. It's a good thing to do. Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Also, I think I may have slightly misspoke there.
Fake news.
Did I? Yes, that's what it was. Without doing heroic. Yeah, sorry. You'll be able to get up to champion 4 out of 8. Sorry.
Yeah.
So
'cause
you
that's how far that gear goes.
so you will be below heroic level until you step into heroic. Then you can upgrade your gear.
Yeah, you'll be like 3 or 4
yeah.
item levels below what heroic drops at.
But yeah, exactly.
And
Outdoor,
obviously
yeah.
then, if you're playing normal mode raid, to actually just touch on that, normal Aberrus will drop those fragments, most bosses drop 10, and boss will drop 15.
Yeah.
So this means, right, like if you're a normal raider, you know, you're getting gear via doing normal mode, maybe you mix in some M+, maybe you just kill some rares and stuff, you'll just get a whole bunch of these, and then you will slowly upgrade your gear.
Yeah.
Again, a maximum of 10 a week. So to actually math some of these out, I mean, you need to get 150 fragments to hit the acquisition cap,
Sure do.
which is 10 crests within a week. So that would just be, do like 13, 14, 15,
12
or
12 and a half. So you could time 13, or you could do 12 in time and then do 2 untimed, which is a lot. But
It is a lot, but also the wrapper quests, those events. This actually means that as time... Okay,
normal players are swimming in them, basically.
yeah, this is going to... So, if you're a normal mode raider, I think Blizzard have realized, what are people playing normal for? Are they playing because they're mega super hardcore prog people? No. They're playing because they want to see the raid, they want to enjoy the mechanics, they want to have fun. And for most of us, like, we'll probably finish normal in 2 weeks. Maybe 3, probably 2, whatever. That's fine. So it's not like you need to take normal mode raid and just say, no, everyone else must be below this. I think you can actually have normal be normal.
Yep.
And in this case, this means that I think for the average player of the game, you will be getting more upgrades.
And better gear.
I don't have much else to reinforce that point. This system is going to give you more shit.
And
It's going to give you more shit, and if you
header ammo and
are...
stuff like-
Yeah, more shit at a higher level, but if you're a heroic raider or a mythic raider or a high-end key person, obviously, you'll have to do the hard shit to get the stuff that you really want. Just that, let's say you are progging the penultimate boss, so that would mean that you are killing 7 bosses a week. That means you're getting 70, which means you're
It'll be 8 in Aberrus. Season 2, because there's 9 bosses.
Oh, yeah, so if you're progging the penultimate boss, then you only have 7 on
sorry.
farm. You!
Sorry, yeah, I thought you meant
Like,
you'd clear.
then you're going to be getting, just from doing the raid,
Yeah.
you're going to be getting a bunch of upgrades, even if you don't get loot dropping.
Yep.
So this is a way of them doing gearing that, I mean, really for raiders, it is a massive upgrade. Honestly, the only downside here that I can think of is the person who, to use a Shadowlands example, wants their Unbound Changeling. Because yes, it is the case, and Chimes did point this out that they have a contingency for this, but it is that thing, you don't want to, and this is not how luck works, to be super clear, but it is how luck works cognitively and how it works emotionally, right? So the way people will keep on gambling because basically people are really bad at subsequent events they're in a direct chain.
Probability independence.
It's like every game of roulette that you play is a fresh roll.
Yep.
Even though you might be like, oh, come on, I've been losing for ages. Where's my win? So that would mean that, if you get your Unbound Changeling on a +3, you're just going to feel like, no, I have busted all of my luck. I have no more luck left. I'm going to be screwed. And at least in Shadowlands, it would just be, even the current system, you've got your Unbound Changeling. You can just upgrade that with Valor.
I think the correct explanation is assessed probabilities are systematically biased towards a uniform distribution of all events.
There you go.
Which is to say, you think that if you have, say, I'll use this as, I like this example. I got the Unbound Changeling in Mists of Tyr and Scythe.
It ain't me. I didn't need the Unbound Changeling. Oh, wait, no. I got my Unbound Changeling. I remember Matt was just saying, oh, come on, I'm doing Mists of Tyr and Scythe all friggin' day to get this. Yep. And I think you were like 8 or 9 in. And I think in the second one, I got it. And I think you were ready to explode.
Yeah, so I got mine on my 20th run. And I immediately went, that didn't feel great. But you know what? That's statistically sound because there are 20 items I could have gotten. And I got it on my 20th run. So 5% chance, sweet, fantastic.
So in the world of Equilibrium, the movie, you would have been okay.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So that's the fun thing where like I think about that all the time. I'm like, I could have done it 1,000 times and not gotten one because that's how probability works. It's like that 5% might just never have rolled, and that's the thing that I think that's what bothers people quite a bit. Overall, is that like they expect it to be, I've done 10 runs, I've had a 50% chance at this, why do I have it?
Yeah.
Like, what is this bullshit? And that's where determinism comes in. And that's where a backstop or fallback, I think backstop's the term Ian uses about the tier stuff. I think that's very much what they kind of need in this case. Hopefully that's part of their contingency.
I think backstop is what I played in baseball. Yeah, isn't that the one between second and third base?
Yeah. Oh yeah, pity system. I don't know baseball very well. I'm not an American.
Yeah.
I'm not American.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, that's an
odd chapter of me being younger.
Yeah, you know what, Akaria? That actually makes sense. You should have
shortstop.
Yes. Shortstop. Oh, yeah. It's like imagine
stealing bases.
Yeah, imagine every time you don't get loot, you get a token, and then you get 10, 20 tokens. And then you get your item, and you go,
yeah,
I have that. And obviously, now there is a part of that, and I think this is interesting because I would not have thought of it this way very much. I wouldn't have thought of this as a bad thing. I would have thought of it as just a nice little bonus on the side. But the way Ian talks about the catalyst in the interview, where he says as soon as that unlocks, it becomes a primary mode of progression for tier. I think they're a little bit worried about undercutting their loot system entirely by just going, okay, so this is the secondary method of progression. It's a backup. You're not supposed to get it this way. Please don't farm stuff out.
So
people would immediately then farm stuff out and go, oh, how do I get this item? Oh, I get this item during the run 20 times? That's so many. Fuck you, game. This is bullshit.
That's the challenge.
I think that's what people think, and I know because obviously, like John mentioned, said obligatory other game token system comment, and that's the thing where I think I've only did I get the Barbie weapons? I did. So I think there's been a couple of extremes that I've progged and got weapons like early. A couple times I've got them after a couple pulls. And then there's other times where I've gotten them like as a result of spending tokens. And every single time I've spent my tokens, I'm just like, that was a fucking slog. I'm done now. And it's like, it was nice to have that backup instead of never getting it. But as soon as I was on like pull 7 or 6, like 6 or 7 without getting it, then I started to go, I'm just grinding out. Totem's nice, sweet, whatever, fine.
And then you realize, then you think like, oh, this is what the game has designed for me. What a grindy piece of shit.
Yeah, there's a little bit of that. And imagine World of Warcraft version would be do this dungeon 30 times to get an item. And you go, sorry, what?
You know all of those image macros with Ian and the gun.
Yeah, exactly.
Just all be that.
Yeah.
One thing I should say here about these crests and stuff.
Yeah.
Chimes did say, for clarity in all the above, these crests do not have a chance at dropping.
Yeah.
They will drop every time. Crest acquisition is purely deterministic. In some outdoor content situations, there is quantity variance, but even in those circumstances, they will always show up as long as you're not at acquisition cap. So, point being there, you always get these.
They're trying to make sure you feel rewarded all the time.
Yeah.
Which means they've devised a partial reward that's a little bit of a reward. So you always feel a little bit like, oh, here's a bite of the card. Here's a bite of the card. Here's a bite of the card. Having a bite of the card doesn't make sense because then you get to the end and you've eaten the whole card. But you know what I mean?
Carrot.
Yeah, it's like here's a taste. Like you get to lick the card every time, and then you get to bite it at the end. I think that's how it goes. And everyone goes, okay, sure, that's perfectly fine. What? What?
Or Gus, fucking Matt's grinder review.
No, my analogy's perfect. My analogy's perfect. Your mind's just in the gutter.
That's it.
Yeah.
To finish off our crests, Mythic plus Keystones from 11 to 15 will drop Worm's Shadowflame fragments, which, unsurprisingly, you get 5 for completing, but 12 if you complete in time. And Heroic Avarice will be 10 fragments a boss, and boss is dropping 15. And then we have the Aspect ones, which drop from Mythic plus Keystones above 16, and Mythic Avarice will also drop the Aspect fragments as well. Okay, so let's continue. These are so those crests are what you use to upgrade, right?
Yep.
Imagine that it's the crest you use to upgrade, and then flight stones are like almost the fuel for your upgrade.
Yep.
So imagine, I don't know. I was about to say, imagine it's like enchanting your pickaxe in Minecraft, but I feel like nobody will get that.
No.
I've been playing Minecraft quite a bit recently.
I think most of us are too old and played Minecraft before all this newfangled shit came in.
I was there since beta.
Yeah.
Oh, how is it? Oh, anyway, right. So, veteran track gear. Remember, you might see veteran track and think, what? Tracks? Is this a battle pass? Rah! No, don't worry. All of this means is the gear that drops from Raid Finder, Mythic Plus below 8, and some outdoor content. Now, there is one below this, which is called Adventurer Gear, which you just get from your standard World Quest and stuff. And remember, your Adventurer Gear, Adventurer 8 out of 8, will be the same item level as Veteran 4 out of 8. Yep. So the idea, right, if you were to kind of lay these all out vertically, and this was like the item level bracket for Adventurer Gear, and this was the item level bracket for Veteran Gear. The idea is that Adventurer goes halfway up to Veteran.
It's almost as if there's a table for this.
It's almost as if there's a table for this that probably has been put at the bottom of this document. So that's that gear. Then our champion gear is from the World Boss, from Suffusion Camp Activities, which I believe is like advanced stuff. M plus from 9 up to 16. And then Great Vault will reward gear in this track for Keystone Dungeons up to +7. Normal Avarice is this track, and very rare items from Raid Finder will be on this track, which I think is quite cool. For Hero Track gear then, that will be that'll be your end of run chest in M plus Dungeons up, from 17 and up. The Great Vault will award gear on this track from Mythic Keystone Dungeons from +8 up to +15.
Yeah, the Vault.
This is your Vault stuff, and then Heroic Avarice will also be this, with very rare items from Normal Avarice also being this track. And finally, the Great Vault will award gear at Mythic Plus 16 or higher with your vault, and then Mythic Avarice will obviously drop there, with Heroic Avarice, very rare items, also being technically mythic.
Yeah.
Now,
so hang on 1 second, just because Specsify says the fact we need this much to explain it all does not instill happiness. I think this is just a system that's complex under the hood, but in reality will actually be pretty simple enough to understand.
Yeah,
it's
because
literally just like, here's your bracket, here's your gear, you can upgrade it slightly outside of it. That's more or less.
Imagine it like this. You know the way you mouse over a bit of gear right now and it says normal, heroic, or mythic? Imagine that text says mythic, hero, champion, veteran, adventurer. That's the only difference. It's not really the only difference, but the point here is that, like, from a player's perspective, it's going to be, I'm going to go into the normal raid. Let me go and take a look at the Dungeon Journal to see what I get in the raid. And instead of it saying, you know, Big Dick's bow of firing arrows, normal.
It's called Nalthrax, Fury of the Sky, yes.
That's it. It'll say champion. That's the only difference. Imagine that green bit of text just says something different, and that there's an upgrade level, which of course Mythic Plus players will be fairly used to at this stage.
Absolutely. Also, Esteban says, gear being required only for the current season shouldn't be attached to massive RNG since we're changing it constantly. The gameplay should keep us subbed. Very good joke, very funny, I like that. I agree. However, I think in reality it is unfortunate that is a very... that's a world we'd all very much love to live in, but unfortunately people play games for rewards, not for fun. People play games that are fun for rewards, but they don't play games for fun. At least a lot of the case. There's a whole people don't play fun. Incentives, rewards, psychology, behavioral psychology. You've likely heard all this before. Mm-hmm. I would love to play games for gameplay, but brains are all damaged by the internet, which is more or less the core point. The core point. I hate the system, honestly. It feels like they are taking away ways to curb bad luck from higher content. I don't think that's true at all, Frank about it. I think this is, well, for sure I really like this, but I think it's more that, I guess they don't, you're sort of right, they don't want to curb bad luck because they want bad luck to exist so good luck feels good. But I think there's
drops. Like,
there's enough here that actually will curb bad luck from higher content. It's just in a way that's more progression oriented
there
than
is
just
already
bing,
bad
bing,
luck
bing,
protection.
Bing. Is there?
In a way, it's called crafted gear.
That doesn't apply for the most cases, which is people looking for specific trinkets and very rare gear.
True, but
yeah,
the crafted gear is still there.
Yeah.
So what I'd say is, for the vast majority of players, this is a straight upgrade from the launch of this expansion in just about every way.
Yep. Might take some hands-on time to feel that, but
yeah, like this makes every bit of gear that drops more useful. I suppose technically less so in the Mythic Plus context. However, it should also be noted in the Mythic Plus context that because of the way the Valor Cap worked, you had so few upgrades per week.
Yep.
Whereas here, you can get like 10 upgrades a week per type of crest. Yeah. That's so much more upgrading. Of course, Flight Stones pending.
Yeah.
So yeah, overall, like, this is in terms of what you get, this is a straight upgrade in almost every way.
Yeah, and Dirge says, it's a straight upgrade, but you've had to explain how it works. I honestly think that's just because people aren't hands-on yet. I think once people are like, oh yeah, I've had a few minutes with it, I know what it feels like, I think people understand. It's just like I was saying, there's a huge amount of, like, asterisks and complexity on the how it works end, not on the how you'll experience it end. I think that's fundamentally one of the issues, and that's why, like, they've obviously struggled with that, having two massive blue posts, even though the concept's fairly simple in execution. It's just like, yeah, there's this bit about this bit about this bit about this, but it's also them throwing loads and loads and loads of, this is how every single facet of it works, because we've been asking for that for years, because every time we're like, this will work this way, we're like, no, we don't trust you, tell us how it's going to work, please. And this time they do, and I was like,
this is overcomplicated.
That's too much. I'm not reading all that, you bastard. They're like, yeah, it'll come out and everyone will go, it's pretty good. and then people go, good job, thanks.
Yeah,
Ideally.
I think some of the execution feels convoluted because when you look at it at a very top level, it's kind of overwhelming, but it's that sort of thing.
It also needs it, to be honest.
If you were to go inside out, as in, like, you know, put your blinders on, you've not read any of this shit, and you're just a player, you get a bit of gear, and you're like, ooh, I can get upgrades. Ooh, I've got flight stones. Ooh, what do these fragments do? Oh, I can do upgrades.
Yippee!
And that's it.
Yeah.
You don't need to, like, know any of this shit. And I think the reason why it is so, in a way, complicated, if this was a single-player action RPG, or even a fast-paced multiplayer action RPG, like what perhaps many people will be playing this weekend, you could probably do this in a more simple way. But the problem with World of Warcraft is so many people play it. It has all of these pillars of content where, you know, they're all vying for vying for attention, different types of players. This is an attempt at a, outside of PvP, one-size-fits-all solution. And that is a significant design challenge.
Yep, sure is.
But
I don't envy them.
For how long have people just said, give us Valor points in Raid? And this is like Valor points in Raid wrote large and way more powerful than anyone could have hoped for. Like, with the quantity of upgrades that you can get versus what... Because, like, if me or you were like, oh, it would be nice to have Valor points in our Raid gear, you'd be thinking, like, what, 1-2 upgrades a week?
Yeah, if you're lucky.
Yeah. I mean, what's... You get 1,000 Valor a week, right? Some upgrades are more expensive than that.
Yep.
You
Well,
get,
no,
thousands
weapons.
Okay, 1,000 weapons, but, like... Yeah. You know, you don't really get that many upgrades, whereas here, I mean, you can get 5x the upgrades you previously would have got. All completely deterministic. Like, this, in a way, is what a lot of people wanted. I think it would be interesting. And then, of course, with alt progression built in. So not only that, but you then have to remember, if you raise one of your, let's just say you raise your shoulders, right, up to, like, hero or champion 8 out of 8. Yeah. And then you get a new set of shoulders, and you're like, oh, these shoulders have better stats or a cool effect. I want those. But, oh, shit, I spent my crests on that one. Don't worry, because upgrading those shoulders will not cost any crests as long as those shoulders are a lower item level or equal to the maximum that you've had in that slot. So the crests are like pure upgrades, no time wasted. And the flightstone cost for those upgrades, if you are... if you are upgrading your shoulders like a new set, but they're still below, the other shoulders you had, those will cost half of the flight stones. And on your alts, they will still cost crests because they do want your alts to actually play the content, but it'll cost half the flight stones. So we've even got a whole bunch of, of alt and, just catch up stuff actually built into the system. So that thing where, imagine Valor points were uncapped. Because in this case, it would be like the flightstone limitation that would be the issue. And you just felt like, oh, I upgraded a piece of shoulders. Then I got shoulders, better itemization. Oh, I've spent them wrong. Whereas in this case, they're like, no, it's fine. You're always going to have the benefit of those crests. You just upgrade the shit at a cheaper flightstone cost. So that works pretty good. As for the question then, why cap item upgrades at all? Because this is a nearly universal system. It includes things like outdoor gear. We're in a world where the Valor system only lets people who play a lot of M+ upgrade their gear, to a world where everyone gets to upgrade their gear, even folks focused on outdoor play. The challenge here is that we're still creating specific gear ecosystems for competitive players. We don't want a world in which players need to run off-season M0s to get best gear. We don't want players feeling like they need to watch world quests to find the trinket they need for raiding. We don't want to create incentives for players optimizing for mythic raids to spend extra time doing normal raids in order to get their best items. Going on then, these names, Flightstones, Shadowflame crests, they're very specific to Dragonflight. Why not make them evergreen names? And they've said, not an evergreen system. This is specifically for Season 2. It's certainly designed with the potential for it to be evergreen, but it'll be evaluated over the course of the season. Now, the thing is, this isn't borrowed power. This is just an upgrade system working within the usual item level range. So, really don't think about it in terms of borrowed power stuff. It is a experiment in if they can make a upgrade system for World of Warcraft in mostly its entirety. There is a tentative plan for naming these upgrade components going forward, though. If it continues into Season 3, we'll swap out Shadowflame for an adjective more appropriate to the theming of the season.
Dreamlike. Whelpling's Dreamlike crest.
There you go.
That one's free.
Each season would change the adjective on the crest. Each expansion would change the name of the levels on the crest to be something more appropriate for the expansion's theme.
Void Guards something crest, got it.
There you go. And the name Flightstone, and we're not even charging, and the name Flightstone would probably change to something more thematically appropriate as well. I want to stress this is a tentative plan that could easily change. And that's assuming we keep the system. Right now, speaking only for myself and not the rest of the development team, again, it's pretty cool that a developer can actually make a post like this and just, say that. That's good. I think it's very likely we keep it and make small iterative improvements.
Like adding dinners.
Thank
you.
There we go.
But not 30 of them. 30 of them's insane. I don't want to play the game for 3 weeks to get one bit of gear. Thanks. There you go.
Some more questions. For Shadowflame crests, are we limited to how many times we can get them or how many times we can use them? The cap is on acquisition. Every time you would get a crest fragment, the game tracks how close you are to the cap and only gives you enough to reach the cap. So if you've already earned 140 Whelpling fragments for the week, you would get another 12. And you would get another 12 for finishing +2. The game would only give you 10. Because the cap is 150 fragments, because 150 fragments equals 10 crests, and 10 crests is the cap. Once you have crest fragments, you can combine them into crests freely. Once you have the crests, you can spend them freely at item upgrade vendors. The cap increases by 150 fragments, 10 crests weekly. This cap does not apply to rewards from one-time quests.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll get a little bit more, a bit of a, the dealer giving you a free sample.
Of course, because you need to tutorialize.
Yeah, just at this time it's World of Warcraft, which we want. Revival Catalyst, totally independent system. Sweet. It does not care whether something's a tier piece or not. I've been watching a lot of videos and reading forum threads and commentary on a bunch of different websites, and I encourage you all to keep discussing it.
Yeah, it's very good, Chimes. Very good.
I think I knew Chimes is. Chimes is cool. Chimes is cool. So yeah, overall, I think this is great. And at the very least, what this is actual large bets being made. Because for a very long time, the WoW team were very conservative and very slow, right? I mean, fuck me, the ship turned so slowly. And that really was the issue, right? It turned slowly to the point where it was like going into Shadowlands, they knew that there's a massive waterfall ahead of us in the river and we cannot turn around. Shit. I think they kind of knew that, but of course, when one expansion just comes out, the next expansion development will be, in gear. So that the ship does turn slowly, but here we're absolutely not seeing that hold them back. We're seeing them be, I think, way more daring with their designs. I think this is significantly, this is a significant improvement. Like, I can understand people finding it confusing or a bit overwhelming or just like, a lot of change, which can be kind of annoying sometimes. But this is a straight, other than that Mythic Plus acquisition thing, this is a straight upgrade for absolutely everybody.
Indeed.
Pretty much.
Yep.
And I actually then think for like that large number of people who are probably not as loud, but the people who were doing like the Primal Storms gearing, and there's a lot of people doing that.
Yeah,
this for them is like so much better.
Yeah, this is like the first iteration towards something that's a lot healthier overall for literally everyone who plays the game and is unified instead of, hey, Raiders and Plussers, you're different genres of people, you're different flavors, whatever, etc., etc. Same with just like, hey, you don't want to do outdoor stuff? Here, you can go up to normal. Over time, you can have normal gear and it's like kind of decently almost on the way to heroic, and you're like, cool, I'll have that, fine. I think people will be happy with that. I mean, there's obviously people who are always going to be annoyed.
It's about the type of gear that you're getting.
Yeah.
Veterans or champions?
Adventure, veteran, champion, her hero, mythic.
Yeah, because like you'll be able to get the item level up to like a little bit of normal from that previous stuff, but to then get that better gear, you're going to need to step into the normal raid.
Yeah, which you can or can't, depending on if you want to or not. It's that fun thing.
And actually, one thing that this will help people do, because for those of us who can just easily go do a normal raid or a heroic raid, like this is just pure wins. But there's a lot of people who look. They're new, they don't have the experience or whatever, they can slowly gather up that power and they can then go and knock out that normal raid. And if you smooth the progression between those difficulties instead of making it, sort of big spikes, then there is perhaps an argument to be made that could be a more approachable game that could retain people better over time.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's certain argument here in chat between people being like, oh, well, maybe people shouldn't have access to gear that they aren't good enough to get in terms of things. And that's obviously...
broadly, you still don't. That's the point of so much of this post.
That's the point. This is like the reason for the naming conventions is very obvious. Because why bother being veteran 1 out of 8 and then go to 8 out of 8 and then have to go champion for the next one? And it's obvious. Because if you're playing at veteran level and you get 8 out of 8, you're done. Yeah. You're happy, you're finished. You're happy, finished. That's why it's like, that's why it's like 4 out of 8 where the next level starts. Because it's like a point, you get yours to 8 out of 8 and you can go, this is as far as I'm going. I am happy. I have the item level to do the stuff that I need to do in a satisfying way. I am finished. If you want to push yourself further, you can go for that. No problem.
Yeah, that is the game saying, all right, you are as close to optimal as you could possibly be to get the next type of gear, be that adventurer to veteran, veteran to champion, champion to whatever the hell's after champion, I forgot.
It's
champion to hero.
Yeah.
So it's not really a case of people not, getting... I mean, they will be able to get a slightly higher item level now, yes, and that will help them graduate into content. But the thing here is they've actually differentiated the item level with the gear. Because of this way that veteran track gear, veteran 8 out of 8 is the same item level as champion 4 out of 8. But ultimately what that is saying is, look, you've maxed out veteran. You totally have the item level to go and start doing this champion shit. So how about that?
Yeah.
And then that's the game actually giving the very clear nudge. Why not drop higher item level from that content? It is higher item level from that content.
Yeah. It is.
Yeah.
Yep.
So there you go.
That's cool.
That's overall it. I think massive win, and this could be... I hope it works out well, but this
I imagine it will. It's that case of, I know they're talking about it a little bit toe in the water kind of way, but I completely think this will be completely fine. And people will actually get, people will find their niche with it and it'll be pretty good. I can't see any glaring issues with it that aren't something they've promised to address that happens. Ultimately, I'm very excited to see what happens and how they get feedback to it. Because I know a lot of the changes so far have been very much, oh, this is a wee bit ropey. Hopefully it works, and it kind of has. They've been good with threading the needle. So hopefully, I imagine they'll continue doing that.
Nice way to get noobs going. Yeah, people who are newer to the game, like this genuinely is a nicer way to get them in.
And that's the fun thing. You want a unified experience. You go, okay, you understand it at a low level, you understand it at a higher level. All it is doing harder stuff. And that's what you want to do. You don't want to have like different walled off and be like, okay, sorry, well no, you're in a completely different system over here. If you want to get over the...
Nuclear Blast has lost their minds. You're comparing questing to high level keys / mythic raids. No, nobody's doing that.
They're talking about
nobody.
They're talking amongst themselves.
Yeah.
They're talking amongst themselves. Ultimately, the argument in chat is boiling down to, if you want high level gear, you should do high level content.
Which is the design of this system.
Yeah, which is the system, and that's the point. But then that's being seen as elitism because people don't kind of understand the point of gear being locked off is because you have to do the higher level reward to do things, because people play at different levels, people play at different desires to play at different levels, and some people have weird ideas. I mean, a lot of people have weird ideas about that across the community, where I've seen people go on both ends of the spectrum. You shouldn't be allowed gear unless you can pass 7 literacy tests and to complete proving ground on level 1 character with no abilities.
How about this?
And the other side is you should have access to full mythic gear without as much as lifting a finger.
I have
and
found,
there's some people are always somewhere in the middle, and I think Blizzard are getting to a point where they're going, okay, you have a track, you're happy, you have a track, you're happy, you have a track, you're happy, because they are different players. They're just being trying to unify it in a sense.
You only get to vote if, like in your actual elections, you only get to vote if you've done a goal. You can do a gold proving ground.
Yeah,
there we go. Ultimate form of gamer voter suppression.
Absolutely.
I have seen people. Yeah, I have seen some people say like, "Oh," because I've seen some reactions to this gearing system that have been, "Oh wow." So Blizzard are saying that high level gear is only for elitists, and you're like, "No, you're completely insane."
No.
why do you want to go and like do a world quest and get mythic gear? What? But that's what happens when you read the official forums.
Yeah, that's
the official forums are a totally insane place.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're more insane than MMO Champion. I feel like they're different forms of insane.
They are.
Yeah. So anyway, let's talk about Farak Assaults. This is outdoor content that awards upgradable gear, because I suppose, spoilers, it all is. Yeah, right. So what are Farak Assaults? Why should you do them? Why should you engage in this brand new feature? So these are testable on patch 10.1 this week, which gives us an early preview. So Farak Assaults. Each day, Farak is going to assault one of the 4 original zones. So Waking Shores, Unknown Plains, Span, and Thaldraszus. The assault lasts for the entire day. Changing to a new zone with the next daily reset. What happens? Well, the atmosphere will turn fiery, it'll rain ash, the skybox will become mean and nasty, Farak's forces will surround the area, including Jaradine, Primalists, and Primal Drakes. There will be a small quest hub with members of the zone's faction offering 3 quests. Okay, so the objectives then. What do you need to do for one of these Farak assaults? So we've got the Wards of Agira, the Wards of Farak, and Everburning Keys. What are these? So, Agira. Normal enemies can drop Wards of Agira. You need 5 Wards of Agira to interact with a Suffusion Crucible. Suffusion Crucibles will... Okay, so you kill the little weak dudes. When you kill enough of the little weak dudes, you're able to summon in an elite enemy. That elite enemy will drop the Ward of Farak. You need 5 Wards of Farak to interact with a Suffusion Mold. Suffusion Molds will summon an elite Forge Master boss that drops an Everburning Key. Get 3 keys, you can open a secured shipment cache. The Farak Assault World Quest will end once the Forge Master has been defeated.
Okay.
Okay, and then there's this bar here, Farak's Fury, that will gradually fill as you kill people in the zone. When it's full, he will fly over the area and burn everything in his path, reminiscent of the Deathwing flybys from the Cataclysm pre-patch event, and you will actually get the Still Standing in the Fire achievement if you're killed by it. Farak will bombard the assault area with Shadowflame before leaving. A Disciple of Farak Proto-Drake boss will then spawn and require a large group of players to defeat. So it is one of those things. Group of players comes together, kill a bunch of small dudes, summon in slightly stronger dudes, kill those dudes, summon in boss, kill boss, get loot. Happy, happy. Now,
interesting to call that a Russian nesting doll ender. That's what it is, yeah.
So rewards then. The secured shipment, as we said, requires 3 of those keys, so defeating 3 Forge Masters. These have no loot, but they will likely contain some Drake's Shadowflame Crest fragments and eye level 405 gear. Shadowflame Crest fragments then. So the Forge Master boss drops 5 Drake fragments. The Disciple of Farak drops 6 Drake fragments. So you can combine 15 of those, obviously, to create a full Drake Shadowflame Crest, which will upgrade one of your bits of gear.
God, my brain's turning to dust.
Now then, Drake's Shadowflame Crest. The Disciple of Farak boss drops a quest item that awards you a full Drake Shadowflame Crest. Oh, that's another upgrade. There will likely be a different Disciple of Farak boss per zone, with each having one of the quest items for a total of 4 per week, basically like Storm Sigils. So there's item level 385 gear, which is Explorer 4 out of 8. This is daily quests in the assault area, and I'll have a chance of awarding you that gear. There's item level 405 stuff, which is Veteran 2 out of 8 from defeating the Disciple of Farak boss. 411 gear, Veteran 4 out of 8, which is for doing the World Quest. And then 415, which is Champion 1 out of 8, where it was recently stated, in that blog post on the gearing system, the Champion level gear will be obtainable in limited quantities from the Farak Assaults. So basically, I think this just means you get a bunch of loot, you upgrade the loot.
Slow burner progress for normal tier gear.
And this is what it looks like. Again, on human male.
Why? I mean, I
Very
know
silly.
it's Duncan's easiest, but God, it's so bad.
So much of WoW's gear just looks so much worse in previews because of how it's previewed. It's quite rough. Yeah, it is what it is. I think the sets, though, are sick. Like, man, male's really awesome. Plate's pretty damn cool as well.
Those, oh God, those are big shoulders. Imagine getting through Dora in those. Oh, Tauren wearing those. Be so wide.
Ah, hang on.
Oh dear.
Thoughts. So, this is from our resident PTR tester. There's quite a bit of early negative sentiment amongst the player base regarding these assaults, mainly due to them being daily on the PTR, but also because they seem fairly boring. Unlike the original Primal Storms, which essentially had a weekly lockout per element type, and the later Primalist Future event added in 10.05, which had diminishing returns after the first every week, these just seem to be daily. This is PTR, and it may only be daily for testing purposes.
Emphasis on May.
Emphasis on May, but that said, the last time they did one of these...
They April only be for testing purposes.
What?
They April only be for testing purposes.
I'm so confused.
April, May.
Oh, fuck me. Last time they did a system like this, it was the 4 elements, and that was your weekly thing.
Yeah.
There's every chance that it will be like that again. We just literally don't know, but I suppose there is the daily quest element, but the daily quest element will only really matter if you want that 385.
Yeah. It may also be, and I will say this, I think it may also be daily as a response to players being concerned about the lack of World Quest daily content to do, because those outdoor players are like, hey, I've done everything, what else is for me to do? And the only answer they had was like farming renown as opposed to progressing their character. So I think there's a potential that it is daily, or at least they're trying it out daily intentionally to say, hey, do players like logging in and going, what can I do? In the same way that people log into Diablo and do rifts. And that's what they do with their time. Maybe they might be trying to go for this for like the, hey, outdoor players want to go and home from work, very tired, I'm going to do the thing I like to do, which is number up in video game I like. And now they're going to make that possibly daily. Yeah, that's a possibility I have. And obviously there's like the, daily, but then, they made World Quest so people wouldn't be fielded like they had to do them every day and log in every day. So I think it's a little bit of they could be doing that. To just go, hey, you can run these every day, especially with the crest capping so big. It might be like, if you do these like 4 or 5 days a week, you'll be capped. Maybe 3 days a week. So you should only really do them 3 days a week. But then do more for more flight zones. It might be that kind of thing. Where they are going, here's your limitless grind. Maybe. Just a thought.
We will have to see.
Yep.
We'll have to see. And it's all subject to change.
Yep.
They should maybe just make a post about the testing to explain their intent. Seems like the sort of thing they're maybe more likely to do these days.
Yep.
For all things then, we do have... let's do the Scarlet. I saw so many people just saying, give us the Scarlet plate.
It's very nice.
It is
What
a
we've
very
seen
nice
so
piece
far.
of armor. When will it load?
Oh, it's the process, or the thing Dakar and I put together, yep. So the...
Oh, yeah!
Yeah.
Our top scientists were working around the clock for this one.
Yes, so the helmet, the helmet, the helmet, the shoulders, and the belt here are the Scarlet plate. Everything else is from the Human Heritage set, the red color, just because the other things aren't available now.
Yeah, so
And
we've
they don't
made
include
this.
stuff,
This isn't literally what it will look like. We've just made a little amalgamation.
Yes, but the helmet, shoulders, and plate are there, our belt in there, and they're gorgeous.
They sure are.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, so that looks pretty damn nice.
There's also the Judgment coloration, which looks way
Oh,
yeah.
baby. Yes, people are definitely going to want that.
Yeah, this is the patch to root out people who Scarlet Crusade RP a little hard. This is the patch for them to come back and then be banned.
Yep. Do you go to the historical reenactment and decide to be the SS? Are people suspicious about this?
Yes.
Man, that black and red does look very nice.
So
now,
cool.
for other things, because this is this part of our show notes, is not just the Scarlet gear. There's a hell of a lot here. So we've got some high-res archery props.
Yep.
Scarlet Dungeon Gauntlet area.
Could be an update to that.
That would be very interesting.
Or could be part of a new human starting zone.
Now, that would be very interesting.
Sure would.
I would...
Big thinky.
Big
What
thinky.
about the Dwarf Tank? What about the Iron Forge cards?
Big thinky. Video future. Ceremonial Pantera set.
This looked good. But I really
I
love
keep on thinking about the band anytime I say that.
Yeah, I love the Nighthold coloration for the Druid set, so more of that looks cool. It also seems very new to, like, there's nothing in, like, lore or anything that makes sense, so it's
So,
cool.
yeah, here's us mixing it in with the, that blue coloration. Looks very nice.
Color matches.
Then, look at this Dwarf Guard.
That's very crispy.
Look
very
how
clean.
highly defined he is.
He got a glow up.
Yeah, he is definitely not a SCART cable. Oh, that shield's so nice. So yes, stuff's looking very good. There's with and without the tabard. Hopefully we get some of this gear as players. I mean, once again, black and gold just always looks cool.
Yeah, so here's the fun thing that I have a consideration. So these have alternate colorations. Nothing on the trading post has had alternate colorations yet. Because then you'd have to buy it twice. And would that be fair? So either they're going to give you both, or these are for something entirely different, from a different source. Maybe you just buy them from the vendor. Maybe there's something else. Maybe there's part of the world revamp, the Azeroth in progress makeover that's currently happening. That the Blizzard are trying to not very sneakily hide from us and not talk about at all.
Yep, 100%.
Aha.
100%
Fantastic.
true, confirmed.
Yep.
Also, there's a tank.
Yeah.
Why did they make a new tank? Who knows? Gee. Forsaken tabards.
Yep.
Of course, moving away from a certain Sylvanas.
Yeah.
Of course, our current amazing Wi-Fi situation means that these barely work.
Yeah, the hoods and capes are very colors, but they're very cheap. I wouldn't expect them to go, here's 2 850 tender at armor sets, pick one. I can't imagine that.
Yeah, so stuff's looking good. We then have some green flight armor.
Some more 10.2 spoilers. Thanks, Blizzard.
Thank you. Okay. Oh, look at this. Hello, Ysera.
Yeah.
Hello, Winter Queen colors.
She's bluey because she died. So now she's stained with death. Which is cool. But then if you go down for more colorations, we've got a very bluish one.
Got very
Very
orange one.
Orange. Emerald Dream orange. The sun. Answer. Hello.
The birds.
The birds. The bird's the word.
The Stormount bird. The Stormount birds.
Yeah, the birds are the words that we paid for. Yeah, the sapphire thingy.
Yeah, the
Sky
sapphire,
Blazer.
and then
Sky
there was
Blazer,
the... Can you get the fiery one, or was that just Adamine?
I think that's just. Yeah.
Blue.
Green, blue, orange. What's that mean?
What it?
Maybe is blue supposed to be white? St. Paddy's Day. No. Yeah.
Yeah, well, this is one of those situations where, like, they could have went either expansion.
Yeah.
You know, either...
Well, it seems like Emerald Dream would be a patch.
Oh, wait, no, that's a patch. I'm
Yes.
stupid, yes. Right. Then there's some other stuff. We don't have models yet, but some Drakthir gear, some blue flight gear, bronze flight gear, black-red gear. Neltharion shoulders and helm, sort of wondering, will this be a Tusks of Manaroth style super rare thing to get, which I think will be pretty sick. We then have this dragon riding gear that, again, yes, why do previews have to be on human males? Please, default to human females. Default to anything else. Anything else, man, please.
Draenei males.
Draenei's.
Anything like...
Yeah, anything. Anything.
Organ,
Just not...
Organ females.
Not...
Please. Nobody laugh at.
Oh dear, absolutely nothing. So we've got a lovely little scale male Empress.
More world
5.
revamps. More world revamps.
Oh, now this is the World of Warcraft that I remember signing up to. Oh boy.
Indeed.
Yeah, that's my wow.
Hello, I am Mr. Gaudy.
We have some Drakthir sets, which will be wearable by players, seemingly, so that's pretty nice. We can skite on through those, eventually. Lightforged Draenei, two-handed swords. Yum yum. Troll two-handed swords, also yum yum. And that is the end of the document.
Yep, fantastic.
Bunch of cool new shit, and certainly a lot of big things happening. New Starter Zone revamp, totally.
It's either that or like a slow burn world revamp in the background. Something along those lines, I think. As to whether any of it will happen, and as to whether it'll be good, because we definitely didn't have a 45-minute conversation with Jared about that today at all. Instead of finishing that video I was working on. Whoops. But yeah, no, there's like lots of thoughts of like how a world revamp could happen, if it would happen, when it'll happen, based on evidence, and we will actually talk about that in an upcoming video in an astounding amount of depth, so you will know whether or not a world revamp is happening, or you don't have decent opinions on it. Either way, all the possibilities, all the evidence, etc.
We never give you indecent
here
opinions.
Channel 5 at 9 p.m. Whatever. I don't know why it sounded like that way.
Probably our final thing.
Yeah.
Just the 10-1 data mining.
Yeah.
What have we got?
We've got. I hope you're ready to spend forever in these dungeons.
Long. Basically, the average timer is slightly higher for Season 2 than Season 1. However, look what happened to these revolts.
Yeah, it only took them 20,000 years to take it down by 90 seconds.
Maybe this time they are having more reasonable timers by default. We don't know yet.
Yeah,
There's certainly a worry, though, that people are just thinking, oh god, no, I don't want to spend infinite amount of time in content. Or, dungeons being too long. Because, look, I get it. We all want Maw of Souls. I want Maw of Souls back. But, Ian, come on. Give me a Maw of Souls, man, please. But overall, yeah, that's basically that. Dungeons have slightly longer times. Probably indicates they're a little bit longer.
Yeah.
But thankfully, it's nothing particularly huge. It's not like everything is a Halls of Valor.
Yeah. I mean,
The unanimous opinion of the WoW community. That was a big statement. Is the long dungeons just aren't that fun or compelling? Yeah. For me, it depends.
It's weird.
In the context of a mega dungeon, totally different kettle of fish. In the context of playing Mythic Plus, I have a very heavy bias towards shorter dungeons. 1,000,000%.
Yeah, it's that fun thing of it would maybe be better to have more reps overall. But I think there's a lot of, I guess maybe at like 20 plus dungeons are become kind of like gauntlets, and you're always like, okay, go full speed, go full focus the whole time. But there's certainly times where, especially if you're doing stuff that's not particularly challenging, especially when it's tyrannical versus fortified, there's times where there's downtimes like, this is pretty long for downtime, and my goal is to get to the end. So I think there's maybe a case of maybe they could tone down health values, but I suppose it's awkward. So I know people really like to play for a decent period of time, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'll just get like a half an hour dungeon. I'll be in the flow for a period of time, especially because longer dungeons mean that people will have less time grouping on average. Because if you spend 10 minutes getting grouped together, then 15 minutes at a dungeon, that's 25 minutes per run. Whereas and over like almost half of that's getting a group. But if your dungeon's longer, then it's not quite as bad in terms of percentage, which is a weird thing to think about, because you think, well, clearly that doesn't really matter, but it kind of does to your overall experience, I think. So it's hard to really know. I think faster dungeons would probably be better overall for people, as long as I guess that's probably my thought. World of Warcraft takes a lot of time to finish. Realistically, it takes a shit ton of time compared to things, and I guess some people see that as a good thing. Some people see that as a bad thing. I personally see it as a little bit of a bad thing.
I agree.
And it's like, how much time do you spend just kind of going,
What's that challenge thing of who are you making the game for, and how do people play? Because back in the day, it used to be like, we're just going to play WoW forever. But now so much of like, the WoW audience has obviously aged.
Very much so, yes. Very much so.
Now that said,
including us,
it's really spooky when you see that there are people who like their first expansion was BFA.
I don't understand.
Or first expansion was Legion. Or even like first expansion being WoD. To me, that's insane.
Yeah, I find that a challenge sometimes. I'm just like, a lot of the times I'll just speak with like, no, that knowledge is implied.
Yeah, it's like I mean, obviously you played Wrath of the Lich King. Everyone did. Yeah, it's obviously you played TBC stuff. Obviously.
Yeah, it's like, remember back in the day whenever, in WoD, when there was the garrison, when you had the legendary rings, and just people look at you and be like, what? Sorry, I've started playing in Legion. Like, oh my god, you never experienced World of Warcraft. You're now playing this weird bastardized thing that has been the game for almost longer than it's not.
Yeah,
but we don't act that way because we're old and Angsty.
I'd love to see a cohort analysis of play patterns.
Oh, that would be fun. That's why I'd love to like just sneak into Blizzard headquarters and be like, "Where's the data? Come on, let me see it. Let me see it." And then you'd never be able to find it because you'd need to have the logins and stuff. It's not like you're just like in a heist movie, like sifling through what do you call them, filing cabinets. Like, where's the playtime data? Where's the playtime data? I've got it finally. And then
Like,
goes.
I have the data crystal.
Oh,
the
yes.
mythical data crystal. Love you, sci-fi. Okay, other things then. Niffin Renown rewards have been revealed. I would say it's a renown. You will get cosmetic customizations. You will get flight stones. You will get some crests, tabards, and features being unlocked, like a Niffin wheelbarrow, which will help during researchers under fire. Just one of the events.
Cool.
There you go. So basically, a bunch of things. We've got Zarlak Caverns being in the map. We can see the maps kind of like being busted in, which I think looks pretty neat. There is the Zarlak Cavern itself, which overall is a little bit larger than Zereth Mortis, and you can see all of its different areas there with the crystalline bit, the fiery bit, and then the sulfur pools in the middle. Then we have got what Neltharion looks like. Man, it is good to have a Neltharion that doesn't look like how old Neltharion looked, because holy shit, that Cataclysm era model was totally bad.
What's that on the Norwood scale? No.
Yeah. So there you
solid
go.
3.
There's the man. Here's, by the way, the first raid boss. You can also just ride it around.
Yeah,
so that's seemingly Aris drop, which is cool. We have the vicious mounts being snails, but actually, as far as like making a metal as fuck snail goes, like, yeah, good job.
Now the problem is, will this be full speed? If so, damn you, Blizzard, you failed.
Wouldn't that be funny? As for the UI changes then, let's have a look. Ping animation has been added to the map when open from the quest tracker, making it easier to spot the quest location.
WoW 2 is here at long last.
Fixed some issues for edit mode then. The pet frame, movable separate to player frame, edit mode menu reorganized with several options now hidden under advanced options. Okay. Visibility toggle on the buff and debuff frames has been combined into one checkbox. Functionality is the same. Encounter bar will stay visible if it's already shown when entering edit mode. Graphics quality settings have been reorganized into tabs. Auto self-cast and self-cast key settings have been combined into a single drop-down. Each action bar has its own keybind section that appears if that action bar is enabled.
Very good.
And mousing over a keybind row will highlight the corresponding action bar and vice versa.
Very good.
There you go.
WoW 2 is real.
WoW 2 has happened.
Sure is. Sure
There
is.
you go. It's a whole new game.
Yeah.
As for this, basically some new customizations have came in.
For the
Don't
Dark
worry.
Iron Dwarves and the Nightborn. They get hair and skin and eyes.
They sure do.
Yeah.
And I suppose with that,
Yeah.
that is the news. Of course, there is Diablo 4. I'll be playing a bit of that over the weekend.
Yep.
Also going to...
So will I, because... Ow, that hurt. Because the O2 priority in the UK means we get codes that haven't give Blizzard any money.
Yeah, it means...
Which is fantastic.
Matt's ISP owns my phone provider.
Yeah.
So we both get a key.
Yeah, fantastic. I can't wait to play Diablo 4 and definitely not actually play Vernal Edge, the 2D action Metroidvania that I bought that I've been looking forward to for years instead. Or, better yet, the Exoprimal beta is open this weekend. So I'm in a pinch. Do I play Diablo, the game that I don't particularly like? Or do I play Exoprimal, the game that I won't particularly like because it's a co-op shooter? Or do I play the game that I like? I know the answer. I'm going to play Diablo.
You were born to suffer. No, I'm interested.
Same, yeah.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
I want to see what it's like. Hey, it's actually going to be dark, which, I'm there for.
Yeah,
you guys checking
Killian.
into the 6th? Oh, yeah, I've seen the 6th
I didn't
Dragonflight
have
hints.
a bunch of time to go through it and like really consider it, just because I think it's a little bit insane. But I can see all of the hints. It's just I'm a little bit thinking it's maybe not a 6th Dragonflight. It's likely going to be a unified Dragonflight because it's called Dragonflight, and at the end, Alexstrasza will say, "We are no longer of different something. Together we are one Dragonflight." And then the credits roll and everyone stands up and claps and cries.
What is this? A battle for Azeroth?
We defeated the Burning Legion. God. At least Shadowlands couldn't have that. Oh no, Bane had that moment, never mind.
Yeah, for the Shadowlands. Oh, what a lame line.
Yeah. It's a dragonflight in the room with us right now. I wish.
I wish I knew what the planned Bane storyline was. Because all of the hints kind of point to them saying that the jailer was Anshe.
If they had done that, I think I would have done things that I can't take back.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You would have done, you would have went to America and engaged in federally relevant acts.
There's a phrase I've been using recently, and it's, I would do things so horrendous they would have to rewrite the Geneva Convention in full. That's what I would have done.
Yeah, so all of this means that really patch 10.2 cannot fuck up the Elune lore.
Ooh,
because
if you do.
If you do. I mean, that said, I am in closer proximity to him than the WoW team, so I suppose I won't really live to see what you do.
Yeah.
It's kind of unfortunate.
Did you ever see, I can't remember his name. Imagine a metaphorical version of Soldier Boy from The Boys. Is that his name, Soldier Boy?
Yeah.
What's his name? Yeah.
Yeah, Soldier Boy.
Yeah.
Oh, you're just doing that.
Yeah, that's
in
the
a very
metaphorical.
in a strictly metaphorical
Strictly
sense.
metaphorical.
Strictly
yes.
metaphorical.
Strictly metaphorical, yeah.
Which is to say, Matt will go to the Blizzard office and just stand by the orc statue and scream.
Yes, indeed.
Yes. So, I mean, we don't exactly know, but again, that whole thing of the Eyes of the Earth Mother story, Anshe being wounded, the area where Anshe is wounded, the hole in Zoval, which is where Anshe was wounded, and a whole bunch of other things. Oh.
It's fine.
Yeah, but then you know what the crazy... shit I've heard. This shit I have heard from people who I know. Like, the jailer apparently was not meant to be the main villain of Shadowlands, and it's some of its, like, early conception. Apparently. That's crazy! I actually know who the villain was supposed to be.
Yep.
The Archon. Apparently the Archon was supposed to be the villain. The Archon was, like, playing Zoval.
That made sense for the whole first part of the Shadowlands.
Yeah, you know that way that none of Shadowlands really seemed to click? And it was like everything you did at the start was just like, it's the anima drought. Yes, we will use this to tie everything together. So maybe we were in for some wacky world where Anshe was like this, I don't know, tormented incel. Maybe that's the point. So maybe that's what Anshe was. Maybe, Charistia or whatever, the Archon, maybe she's bad. Maybe the Drust get to do something. Maybe Christopher Judge gets to come back and do something. Which I just like Christopher Judge. Yeah, because I watched Stargate SG-1. And especially that episode of Stargate Atlantis where Tilk and Ronan have their we are the strongmen of our shows, and now we have an episode together.
Fantastic.
God, what a brilliant crossover. I love it. Well, that's all she wrote.
That's all she wrote.
That's all she wrote. In terms of things to finish us off, there are plenty of videos, including one that came out just before this stream did, so you can check that out. Talking about the Incarnates. I even get to mention Daniel Craig in it. I ad-libbed that in. Sorry.
Did Nicky cut that?
Oh no, he must have cut it.
I don't remember that. Maybe he didn't. Well,
I talk about characterizing the Incarnates via action, and the really simple example of that is the parkour
Oh,
dude.
yeah, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, the parkour dude in Casino Royale just gets to go whoop, and then Bond's like, I'm James Bond, I run through wall now. And it just works. Final thing, yes, we do have loot. We are getting all fun and musical on the Patreon, for which much progression has been made. And on the membership content stuff, on the member content,
you're in your pit.
I've created my own Torment Nexus, which is called My Office. That means that I can record things without bothering other people anymore. Yes, I will be looking forward to doing things there.
Wait, John, did you edit that? What?
Was John right?
Cool, sure.
Yeah, of course. Because I was just thinking, like, wait, what? John wouldn't remove that reference. That would have been an opportunity for him to do something funny. Oh, man. And I was the other thing, of course. The Pale Beyond has received many patches. It's continuing to, everybody happy. So there's the Pale Beyond to check out as well, because we went and did a video game.
Yep.
So that's that. And to all of our UK viewers and our Irish viewers, Mother's Day's and Sunday. Are you prepared?
Oh, dear. Well, I mean, at least people here will have the time from being severely hungover on Saturday. Maybe Saturday evening they can prepare for Mother's Day. Maybe. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yes, so
please be prepared.
I will go to Hotel Chocolate. I shall pick up some chocolate.
Lesser out of chocolate, and then you said you'll go to Hostel Chocolate instead, which I thought was hilarious.
I'm very
That's
funny.
very good, yeah.
Very funny. No, I'm actually very delirious. I barely slept all week.
Yeah, indeed.
So yes, I'm going to go now, and see, here's the thing. I would say walk through the revelry, because you're goddamn right. I am going to Tesco.
Hell yeah.
To pick up some fruit and then some mistakes. But normally you would say, like, oh dear, it's Paddy's Day. It'll be absolute chaos. The thing is, my apartment's near the Holy Lands in Belfast, which is like where you would think is the epicenter of the total madness of Paddy's Day. But here's the thing. They've all tired themselves out.
Sleepy.
Yeah, they're all sleepy.
Yeah,
you see, all these times I'd be just bracing myself for, oh fuck, it's Paddy's Day. My bedroom window faces onto the back of the Holy Lands. I am not going to be able to sleep because all I will hear is drunk people partying. And 2 Paddy's Days in a row, you could hear a pin drop.
Yep.
You could hear a pin drop because they were all asleep. It's great.
Yeah.
Because, of course, they've all been drinking since 10 a.m. And to be honest, that's pretty weak endurance. None of couldn't even handle PreachCon.
Yeah, but then you see how much they drink, and they're like falling over the place like 4 p.m. Sort of, was it like
someone got ran over at Shaftesbury Square last year.
Class.
And there was a fight, and there's a whole bunch of things going on.
That's
great.
Unreal.
Yeah.
Unreal. Now there is one sad note.
Oh.
And that's just because it hasn't been mentioned yet by either of us, but Lance Reddick died.
Yes.
That's very sad.
That is very sad.
I was looking at a video on Twitter there of someone posting the tower in Destiny.
Yeah.
And everyone having their tributes there, and I was like, that's very nice.
It is very sad and very unexpected.
Yep, indeed. Indeed.
They said they believe it is natural causes.
Yep. Just unexpected.
Yeah, absolutely, because he was 60, so.
Yeah, creeping death, that's a good point. Not where I live. Meth and booze all day party. Yeah, thankfully, I don't think meth's really a big thing here. I think it's kind of more regular party stuff, and then some very unfortunate things that are a lot harder that kind of ruin places, but that's just how it is.
What?
No, I'm talking about over here. It's mostly like party drugs, like lines, and then some heroin. That's about it.
Spice.
Oh yeah, because
Spice,
there's loads of spice bags of the place. That's right.
Yeah, but Spice doesn't really target. Spice is I think as Spice is in most places, it is a lot of like the sort of disadvantaged, the homeless, etc.
Yep.
Yeah, spice bags everywhere.
Yep.
Cities are really falling apart, aren't they? I feel like we've ran the experiment for too long.
We have, yeah.
I should have capped it off a while ago.
Yeah. But everyone, back into your villages.
That's it.
Because I spent a couple days in a friend's town in the Netherlands, and it was so idyllic. And I'm like, oh, look at this. There's like outside, and there's gardens. And then go outside and look, and go, oh, look at, even though there's light pollution, there's some stars outside. Unbelievable. It's an incredible experience.
One thing. Further to what we were saying about previewing sets. Props to our man Dario. Look at this.
Why have you not got this on your laptop that's on the screen?
It's a tweet. Look.
Oh,
Look.
Panda.
It's on a Panda. The Monk tier set on a Panda. Looks cool.
Very good.
Looks very cool indeed.
Very good.
So yes, anyway, we will return next week where we will continue to build the Coalition for Concerned Gamers against the previewing of tier sets and other miscellaneous cosmetic items on human male models.
I'd followed about the first third of that as an acronym, but then it went off the rails.
Completely gone.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Right.
Absolutely.
Time for me to go home, have a big fucking sleep.
Yep. Absolutely.
And then actually go to a small town and not be in the city for a few days.
And then immediately suffer from internet-related problems because you're no longer in the city.
Yep, and then immediately think about the 1.3 gigabit internet that we have here, right when I'm dealing with internet that is 1/20th of that speed and trying to download Diablo 4.
Yo.
And because it's on my desktop computer, which is currently in the family home, not here in Belfast, I can't preload because I forgot to install Parsec on it like a total dick.
Get owned.
By the way, Parsec is
Good.
Parsec is next level good remoting into shit. It's crazy. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's crazy. Oh my god. I could work from home, video edit on the Mac Studio that we're running the stream off like on Parsec, and it would just be perfect. It would be crazy.
Good as hell.
But I mean, I'm not going to do that because we don't need to. Anyway, right. Good night, everybody.
Yeah, it's good night.
I'm very tired. I'm going to sleep now.
Yeah, we'll see you next week where we will maybe talk about that electric evoker spell third spec stuff you're talking about, Ascendant. We'll maybe talk about that.
What?
Some electric spells for evokers was allegedly data mined.
But that's not Shadow Flame Evoker.
It's not.
Whoa. That is not. What is it?
Can I exaggerate my face anymore?
There, now that he's got the thumbnail.
That's the thumbnail for next time. All right.
Done.
Have a Paddy's Day.
Good night, everybody.
Good.
Happy St. Patrick's Day. And we will see you next week.
He's dead. He just straight up fell on top of his laptop.